So off of those here for school.
Oh, they're there. So we're just missing.
Okay, I think we better get started here because we're a few minutes late.
Oh, Rob's on there?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Rob's on there?
Yes.
Cool.
He was.
I don't see him.
Or he was trying to get in.
Uh,
And then he's gone.
Someone just flag me down if you see it pop up on the screen in a minute. Does everyone have an agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, sorry about the tech issues. We'll get started here.
You're the president. We blame you.
Yeah, sure. I take full responsibility. So thanks everyone for coming and thank you, Gail, for letting us use this conference room. It's fantastic. So we're gonna do a quick round of intros, but before we do that, just kind of like what the goals are for today. Obviously, we have 3 new members in the room, so we just did a brief orientation with them, but it is a little bit of learning by fire hose here. So we're gonna leave time for them to get acclimated, and we also encourage them to ask questions as they come up today. But otherwise, June is a pretty big meeting, so we're going to do a little recap of GeoCon. We're going to talk about the budget for this year. We're going to talk about a couple policies that have been in consideration for the last few months that we're hoping to finalize today, and then some just traditional kind of update stuff. I did leave plenty of time for new business. So if there's something that didn't make the agenda that you wanted to talk about, I left a half an hour for kind of other discussion topics, new business. So if it fits into one of the categories that we have, feel free to bring it up, even if it's not a bullet point item that I included. Otherwise, maybe hold it for new business. So we obviously won't do this every meeting, but I do think a quick round of intros, just given that we have new members, is appropriate. So I'll start. My name's Jackson Rose. I just started my 1-year term as the MAGIP president. For my day job, I do research and I'm an instructor at Montana State University here in Bozeman. So teach a couple of GIS classes and then do geospatial related research and projects for the university. We can just go around the same. Michelle.
Okay, I'm Michelle Quinn and I am an administrator for MAGIP and I've been working with the association since 2018 and I live in Missoula.
I'm David Ray. I work for the Department of Revenue for the cadastral. I'll be stepping into the tech committee role. Looking forward to it. And
Is it Ray?
Ray, yeah.
Ray, as in a light of Ray or Ray?
Yeah, like something
like that.
Anything
Are
like
you
that.
related to the Rays in Helen?
Not that I know of.
No. You live in Missoula?
Yeah, I'm not in Missoula.
Just kind of a unique last name and they spell it the same way.
Oh, interesting.
I'm Lauren Wilcox. I am a GIS analyst for the city of Bozeman. Been doing GIS work in the Bozeman area for the last 8 years. And I'm stepping into the secretary role.
I'm Gail Jorgensen. I am the past president. Woo-hoo. Thank you, Jackson. And I am the GIS program manager here at the city of Bozeman. This is the building that we work in. So, well, it's lucky she had Stuart from home most of the time. So yeah, we're here.
I'm Helen Paris. I'm a GIS manager for Pickett and Associates. Doing GIS for, I don't know, a while now. Probably 16, 15-ish years. And I'm the member development chair going into year 2. It's awesome. Welcome.
Mike Powell. I am the GIS manager for Yellowstone County. I've been in Yellowstone County since 2002. Been basically a member since then. Not technically, but something like that. And I am the VP again.
Didn't want
The whole circle.
No,
That's two.
it'll be a third past president.
There we go. I knew there was like 3 in there. Megan Burns, Montana State Library in Helena. Work on admin boundaries and elevation and whatever else. And been a member since 2008. And been on the board on and off since, oh gosh, I don't remember. Oh, from 2012 or 14, somewhere in there.
Megan
A
got
while.
sick of us asking her for help, so we made her official.
All the positions, but
Nick Lewis, I'm gonna be stepping into the treasurer role. I've been doing GIS for like 4 years now. I have a hybrid survey tech GIS role at Dow Engineering here in Bozeman. So,
Jeff Fetchner for Montana State Library as well as GIS analyst. Been doing GIS for around 11 or 12 years. I've been with the state for 5 years and just hit that 5-year benchmark, so.
Coffee mug.
Little pin. for
Oh,
us.
pins, I like
Look at pins,
that.
yeah. This is my third stint on the board. It's going to my second year, as conference liaison. I like the position so far, so. So yeah, I'm looking forward and welcome to new members and hopefully you enjoy your 2 or 3 years here.
Eric, do you mind giving a brief introduction?
It's no problem at all. Good morning, everyone. Sorry that I'm not attending there in person. I got some things going on here at the house where I need to go back and forth. My parents, my wife's in Great Falls dealing with family stuff there. So, yeah, my name's Eric Spangenberg. I work for Lewis Clark County in the city of Helena. I run their GIS office. Our office supports both of those local governments. I've been with Lewis Clark County for 20 years, and I've been in the GIS industry for probably 30 plus years. So I've been on the council on and off, I don't know how many times in various roles. My current position with the council is that I am the representative from the Montana Geospatial Information Council, from that side of things. And I'll keep it brief because I just talk a lot. So that's all. Thanks.
Hey, Eric, a quick question though. Isn't your stint coming up for, isn't that we voted on again?
Yeah, I believe so. I'll have to visit with Aaron and Jenny at the state library to find out. I think my appointment to the council, and which is a great question. I believe my appointment to the council goes through 2026. I'll have to look at that. So I think I'm still, my current term, I began in 23 and I think it's or 24, 23, and I think it's a 3-year term. So I think I'm done in 26. But yeah, I suppose the council will have to do that as a business item in one of their coming meetings, probably in their July meeting, I would imagine. I'll bring it up to them to ask about the reappointment side of things. So yeah, because I am appointed by that council to this board. So
Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I think the last thing I'd say is,
Rob is back.
oh, Rob's back. Rob, if you can hear us, will you give a brief introduction for yourself? Mostly for the new members here.
Robert All here. I don't know if you can you hear me all right?
You're a little quiet.
There, I got this microphone. How's that? That better?
A little bit better, yeah.
Okay.
Don't lower your voice, that's all I'll say.
Okay. Yeah.
There we go, that's getting better.
From a conference room, that's, Donald, not really approving of travel these days.
Yeah.
No, we can't hear you.
We might need either a written intro in the chat, Rob, or if you have another microphone option.
You're gonna have to eat that thing.
Your mouth.
Well, anyway, you guys know who I am for the most part. You could read my bio. Should be sufficient. Scholarships and grants from an active.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so that's everyone. Are we missing anyone?
And Rob in Missoula, if you didn't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, cool. Yeah, I think it kind of struck me going around, like, for you new members, it's pretty striking that we have so many people that have come back again and again, which is pretty cool. So it kind of just shows the strength of MAGIP and just the Montana GIS community. You know, these people are not getting strong arms and they're not in it for personal benefit. So pretty cool stuff. Okay, so that's intros. First kind of business item is to approve the minutes from the May meeting. So I don't print those out just to save printing, but I did send them around, so hopefully you got a chance to look at them. Any questions before we make a motion to approve?
And you're getting ready to type in that.
I think I.
Okay.
Perfect. Is there anyone willing to make a motion to approve the May 18th, 2025 meeting minutes?
I will.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign. Okay, meeting minutes are approved. Thank you.
Last of Hillary's. minutes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Hillary.
Those are big shoes.
And welcome aboard. Yes.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Good job, right? You got it.
Okay, so next up, and I promised Jeff that he could potentially go a little bit over if he needed to. We wanted to do a little recap and discussion of GeoCon 2025. So the conference planning committee did meet, so we've gone over some of the numbers, some of the feedback, but Jeff is going to give us just a little bit of rundown on how it went, kind of takeaways and things to consider for next year.
Yeah, I'll probably be under 20 minutes, but it just depends on how much side conversation goes on, so.
Wow.
Shots fired.
No, this is the first time we've been able to talk about the conference.
Yeah.
As a whole, so, and so I just don't want to take it lightly, so definitely if there's any side conversations are welcome. That's why I asked Jackson, for us to go over potentially, just because I don't want to take that for granted, so. So yeah, overall, we had very good feedback. We probably had good to excellent for most of the ratings, in the survey.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump here on one question. Did we have anything that actually said bad?
Yes.
There was.
I don't think overall, but we had some negative
There was
comments.
a negative comment on.
Yeah, and I'll highlight some of them here.
Okay,
are those all on Google Drive now?
okay. I'm just wondering.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think Curtis or Helen, they shared the,
Yeah, the full Curtis, I think, emailed us.
yeah, because
Right.
there was something wrong with the initial export. And I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think I caught it until like when we were talking about it. Because I was reading off the Excel spreadsheet and Michelle, I think with the last few questions, all there was just a bunch of words that came out in the comments.
Right.
Single words, I should say. So great feedback, from the learning lab. There was some comments of they didn't know that the learning lab was going on till after the fact. I don't think that was because we didn't advertise it.
I know.
So it's just probably just people not reading emails. But we did get comments of like, oh, didn't know we had a learning lab till after the fact. And then there was another comment about, I wish I'd known the course material ahead of time, which we had a link to it. So, so a few things to kind of go back on, but not much more we can do, but a lot of people wanted back for next year, and hopefully the learning lab was positive from the Esri standpoint. And I have yet to touch base with them. I've been wanting to get some statistics from them as well to see how many people actually logged in. Because they were tracking metrics of like who was using it at our conference. So if they're willing to share that with us, I'd love to get that information. There was another comment about Marl's representation at our conference. They'd love to see that. But I point that out. So it's great that they had a booth, and I think they had 3 or 4 people kind of just rotate throughout the conference. I thought that worked really, really well. So I talked to them a couple different times. So there was kind of mixed feedback on the location of where the sponsors are. In kind of limited traffic. Some of that was just because like that was really our only option at that hotel. Our only other option, maybe it would have worked if we had 10 sponsors, but kind of sprinkle them throughout the hallways, but it doesn't work when we had 22. So we had another record year setting for sponsors, and it's great to see, but you can see the challenges of having to put them in a single room. And if it's disconnected from the rest of the conference, we didn't have the benefit of being at the Heritage Inn or the Holiday Inn in Missoula, where have a great atrium space. Even the Grand Tree was good in Bozeman as well. So yes, we had some negative feedback on that, and also kind of it was kind of small once we started putting like the break food out. We did offer a 3rd day workshops for the first time. I think we had right around 25 people in those 3 classrooms. So I think it was, good to average attendance for my expectations. I think I probably shot for closer to 30, 35.
I think there was about 30 with the remote attendees.
So, I mean, I think we were right there. But I think we're gonna try it again, just to see if we can get more folks to stick around for some additional training. So, maybe with the full year under the belt, maybe we can spread the word and people will see that, hey, MAGIP's offering a 3rd day or fifth day on the conference. We'll see if we can get more folks to stick around.
I think it'll be a good test next
Yeah.
year because it's in Whitefish.
And Whitefish did extend the cheaper reservation deal through the weekend, so I'm obviously taking a long weekend right after.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a-
bookended, so you can come early or you can stay late.
Yeah,
So,
so that might help us too.
Yeah.
People are gonna stay late.
and it's whitefish.
Yeah. Exactly. So there's a lot of things that are working in the positive direction for us in Whitefish. It's gonna be a little tight for space. But I think that's the reason why we had it in Whitefish is because it's never been there. And it's just a very cool town. So and I hope our members get to see that, get to experience that, and hopefully to make a longer weekend of it to help enjoy it. So we had 225 people attend. I think most of those were members, but I think there was like 15, maybe closer to 20 of non-members. So we did have some non-members there. I'm sure some folks just signed up just to get the member discount too, because it did go in your favor, especially if you were to register for a workshop. Smaller turnout on Monday meetup than I think most of us expected. Or given expectations from the previous 2 years in Bozeman and Billings. But I think many of us expected that somewhat, just given that it was Helena. Most of our members live in that town, and so most people, especially the first day of the conference, there's like, well, if I didn't take a workshop or they have kids, it's understandable to not show up to an offsite. But I was very pleased with the Tuesday event turnout. I think we had probably double the number of attendance than we did from the meetup on Monday. So very good turnout.
That's the one that was in the sponsor room, right?
Yeah, in the auditorium, yep.
I think one of the negative comments was that we didn't have as
Sure.
many maps and apps.
Yes, there was another one, yeah.
I think we need to do whatever we can to increase that number.
Jeff, I also sent you some of the year-over-year stuff. If you have easy access to your email, we can pull that up when you're done with the feedback.
Okay. So I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this greatly. I just zoom in a little bit. So we had a net revenue of 25,000. As you can see there, we budgeted for 8,200. I would say this is probably pretty typical, or maybe that was closer to 10,000 that we would expect. But maybe with Helena, maybe we lowered that just slightly. But like, as you can see, we garnered over 16,000, closer to 17,000 what we expected. So I would like us to do something with that money. It's not money that we expected. So I would prefer not for it to just go straight into the bank. But I think that'll be up to all of us to decide when budgets come. Like I said, we had a record number of 22 sponsors. That's kind of been trending up since we've gotten out of COVID. I think we've had 20, 21, and now 22 this year, coming out of the last 3 years. So that's great to see. I think one of the benefits that we saw from rebranding back in 2018 is most of the exhibitors, we've had a lot more returning exhibitors than we did probably before rebranding, just because we're on everybody's radar every year. We're not like every other year like the Intermountain Conference, Intermountain GIS Conference we used to be. So I think that's a very positive trend that we've experienced over the last 3 years.
These guys weren't born during that time, so they have no idea.
Wi-Fi was probably a huge negative, especially with some of our events going on. Did hear some comments, not all of them were tracked in the survey, but, workshops were impacted by the Wi-Fi, connectivity, and map gallery. I mean, I think there was a few of you in the room that Megan and I took part of it. It was almost unusable. I think the last three presentations, that the guy from Bad Elf, Noah, was kind enough to lend a hotspot to the last three presenters.
Wow.
And so they at least had the benefit of, being able to show off their application without much headache from the hotel Wi-Fi. So I don't know if there's a way for us to avoid this in the future. It seems like it was worse this year, especially with a heavily impacted presentation like the map gallery was. That, something to look at, but it's hard to test 200 some people showing up, or probably in that case, there was probably over 100 people. It's hard to test against, it's like, what are 12 of us gonna go over there and get the Wi-Fi as hard as we can? I mean, we can only do so much, I think. So, outside of bringing in like some sort of, I know we talked about this years and years and years ago. We're bringing in some sort of Wi-Fi broadband pipe into the hotel. I'm not sure what else we can do.
Can we ask, Grouse Mountain Lodge what their Wi-Fi speeds are and, have they had issues with?
I mean, we did that with Helena because Esri,
We did.
like they passed
Yeah.
Esri's inspections, or just like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
And Esri wasn't even set up during the time of the map gallery. So, and I think you saw maybe some of the impacts on Wednesday and Thursday because of Esri. They were probably sucking as much bandwidth out of that hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ask each hotel, they're like, oh yeah, ours is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean,
Well, I know that this guy, I forget his name now, actually directly talked to the IT guy at the Delta, like they actually connected, because he was really anal about it. And whatever speed they had was sufficient for what Esri needed, but we didn't check that, we didn't say what's the broadband in that one room that we're doing web map applications, and
Maybe we need like
Maybe
an
we should have.
Ethernet line.
Yeah,
Plug it
yeah.
in. Just hardwire it.
But-
Well, that's what I was gonna.
but
ask.
not
Were they
all
hardwired?
hotels allow that though.
Right.
Right.
Oh, maybe just something that we consider as we go.
I mean, I don't know if many of you know this, but we actually have routers, they're actually in my basement right now, that we purchased when Curtis DeVault was on.
For Helena last time.
Yeah, for Helena last time, back in 18. And so, but I think that was literally the only thing we used it for, because every other conference, because we've asked almost every other time, they wouldn't let us, even plug those in, let alone use them, so.
Was the Esri Learning Lab hardwired or?
They had that over Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
Oh, wow, okay.
they were hogging it all.
Yeah, that's where the man.
They were hogging it all.
But that doesn't explain Tuesdays,
Doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Unless it was
so.
just that one room for some reason, because it's.
That's
Yeah.
my guess.
One other comment I'm seeing a couple times in different boxes is that we might want to consider more time between sessions. I see a couple of comments on that 5 minutes isn't long enough.
We go
Maybe.
back and
At
forth on
least
every
they
year,
have
too.
5 minutes. I was in the Wisconsin conference and they had 0
Like, how do you
minutes.
even like?
I mean,
have
I
time to-
walked into
That's a
a meet, one of the sessions I was going to, and I thought I was late. And I walk in, the doors were closed, I walk in, everybody's still sitting there, and it was still the previous session that was there, and I'm like, holy crap. I gotta be quiet here, and then everybody gets in there and they start right up again, it's like, they had 0 walking time.
So I think Billings, we didn't have any transition at all. So
That's
that,
true we did. We have to. There's no way in the world
I
we
think
could.
we did,
I
and
think
then
we have 5 minutes.
we did, and then one year we tried doing more because we've had that comment
Okay,
before, and then
okay.
people said it was too long.
Right.
So that's 6 minutes. So,
7.5, right?
I mean, that's
Between the
what,
two.
that's why we say, if people read the emails, we say, our schedule is fluid, please be flexible and patient with us, and,
Yeah.
because we've tried different But you have to allow some transition.
Yeah, you gotta get a drink, use the restroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. At the Years of Pro conferences last year, they did, like 20-minute sessions, like 3 20-minute sessions all together. So you came into the room, all 3 of the speakers were there, and it was all just in one room at the same time. And people came in and out, but you weren't really transitioning. And then when you did move, it was like 15 or 20 minutes. So it was a little different.
I think we've tried that format too.
Yeah, I think it's just, you're always gonna get those people that like.
Yeah.
So there was some, a lot of excitement for 2026 in that, survey as well.
Yeah.
I think John Nelson's a big part of that too. so-
Absolutely.
So
And girls.
Yeah.
Heck, yeah. Justin, Michelle.
awesome job to Helen for kind of sticking with it, and, because I think we initially wanted them for 2025, but John Nelson is so popular that
Yeah.
they're literally 15, 20 months out.
Yeah.
Booking them, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that'll be a great addition to our conference.
Can't wait to be in the number one group.
That's on my list.
I can go over.
I,
this stuff
yeah,
if you're-
Jackson was gonna take control.
Yeah, I think we'll put a pin, all really good thoughts. I think we'll put a pin on that. We'll definitely come back to GeoCon ideas at the strategic planning session, but,
Not 2022 should say Missoula, that's my bad.
oh, that's okay. But I did ask Michelle if she'd put together just some year-over-year numbers for us, for the conference. So I'll read them to you if you're very far away from the screen.
Thank
Um,
you.
I am really far away.
We're
So-
all over here.
This is
Yeah.
just, thank you for doing this, Michelle. This is just the last 4 years, just to get a sense of like what the trends are. So the really good news, not surprising based on what Jeff said, but we set highs in terms of the last 4 years for the number of total conference attendees, which was 225. Bozeman was the next highest in 2023 at 205. And I will pass these around at the end of the meeting too, so you can look at them. We also set a high for number of workshop attendees, which way higher, 90. Next highest was 67 in 2022.
And that includes the Friday.
Yeah, some of that's a bit inflated because
Yeah.
there's 3 additional
Right,
workshops. too.
right.
And location, I would say too, because it's in Helena.
Yeah, so that Swanson number should be 22, right? Because Marl's was not on there, because I just looked at that last night.
Yeah, it's 22 with Marl's. I was
Yeah.
just counting paid sponsors, but I
Yeah.
should have added more. Yeah,
Yeah.
22 with Marl's.
Yeah, so also high in sponsors, a high in number of speakers with 83. Not, the only one that we didn't was number of students, which was 25. Next highest was Bozeman, 44. I think that's because I brought 2 full classes. So that's why that number was a little lower, but still really good, and only 7 in Billings last year, so quite a bit higher than that. And then net revenue, which Jeff went over, was the highest that we've had in the last 4 years as well.
Is that adjusted? Because I think we had an initial budget. I just want to get it right for the minutes. Was it
Yeah,
22,000 something?
No, that's approximate. They're adjusted after Nate and I compared numbers.
Okay, well,
Because
I guess we'll get that official number to
Yeah,
Lauren, just to correct the minutes.
when I originally sent that to you, it was still pretty new after the
Okay.
numbers, and Nate and I hadn't compared.
So yeah, I'll pass these around, but I do think it's worthwhile to kind of track where things are headed. And obviously, we have some really positive momentum going here. People are excited, like we just said, for 2026. So with it, I think we can beat some of these numbers.
Just keep in mind, I mean, we are a nonprofit. We're not supposed to be making money. But the last 4 years or whatever, our conferences have been awesome.
Yeah.
And we've been making money, so we need to use that money.
Yeah.
Like Jeff was saying, he'd like to, instead of just throwing it in the bank, we need to start
Yeah.
like scholarships or whatever we decide on.
Yeah, well, the conference does need to make money because it has to cover expenses for the rest of the year. So it does have to make, roughly $8,000.
Sure.
Kind of like what we budgeted for. That was about what it needed to be for us to essentially be
Cut.
positive in the year, or, breaking even for as board, when it comes down to after paying administration and all of our board stuff, our retreat, all that stuff. Couple other things to wrap up on. Michelle and I are gonna do a kind of a deeper cost analysis, later this summer. Just because we haven't raised our rates in a very long time for the conference. We raised our membership a little bit, and I think we promised membership that we would wait on the conference fees to raise. But just looking at how much, especially catering, I mean, I would imagine if you were to pull up the catering, you would see the same trend, the increased cost and how much how much it is for the rooms, how much it is for catering. So I think for us to just do our due diligence to make sure that, hey, we're charging $80 for a workshop. Does that even cover the room? I mean, I don't know if I can even answer that question well enough for Helena. But like, what's our break even point for workshops? You know, say we put 5 people in a room, I mean, do we get our money back from that room? So. But it does kind of balance out because there were some that have like, you know, closer to 20. I mean, we had probably 3 or 4 workshops that were 16 plus. So that's great to see. So that kind of does cover for those that only have like 3 or 4. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that analysis, but it's hard to want to raise rates when we're making $22,000.
That's exactly right.
So it's kind of hard to be like,
Yeah.
and now next year, we're gonna ask you for more money.
Right.
I do have registration fees in the budget discussion, so just to keep us
Yeah.
relatively on track,
Yeah.
let's put a pin in that for a minute.
But I guess one thing that we did see, and I think we talked about it at our conference wrap up is, you know, providing more snacks out too. We did have to trim, so there is some things we can do with that money. You know, probably increase the amount that we spend at the conference. But, you know, just having more snacks readily available throughout the conference. I saw several comments about that, and there was probably more people that didn't voice that opinion in a survey. So I mean, it's just something to think about for our conferences. And I mean, I do agree with Megan. I mean, we do see our bottom line, but I don't know if we fully expected that. You know, like probably.
Well, in the last 4 years, I mean, you got it right
Yeah.
there. We've profited every time. You know?
Yeah, so it's some of that just depends on the numbers too, and
Yep.
it's hard to predict year to year, you know, too. So we have to think of, well, we also have to think about that.
Well, and Jeff, just real quick, 2 things, just to go back to what Mike was saying, as a nonprofit, I think you just have to keep in mind that it's okay to make money as long as you're investing it back into the association in some way. And I think part of that needs to include a contingency pot of money somewhere, just in case you do have a bad year, or another COVID type year. So you should always have some reserves aside. And then I think, you know, Rob's got some great ideas for scholarship stuff. So I think as long as you're investing it back in for the betterment of the association, it is okay to make money, but you gotta have some kind of a plan for that.
Yeah, I would like for us to give a higher scholarship number, just because like, I don't think we've changed those scholarship numbers in well over a decade, and we all know that the cost of schools only going up and up and up, and you know, $2,000 just doesn't go as far as it did back in 2014. So, and then I don't think that cost has changed. For the scholarship that we've handed out, so.
I think the meetups too, we've increased the number of meetups that we have, especially because of GIS Day. And 2 years ago, the focus was to increase the attendance of the meetups during GIS Day. So that's something that we should consider increasing, and that's advocacy for our members. I think that's super important.
Yeah, Joe Rhodes, from Civic Lens, that sponsor, he approached me, about, interest of participating or kind of co-leading, a meetup in Missoula, because his office is out in Missoula. So I may ask one of you that are in Missoula to, help organize it with Joe. So I think it'd be a great thing to see, for our members in Missoula. So, and then, probably a summer goal for Michelle and I, determine the 2027 Big Sky Geocon location. That's always kind of been a trend, is to continue looking forward. And the summertime is a good time to do that as well, because we're kind of recapping our previous conference, and so it's a little downtime, especially for me. So it's a good time to get out there and explore a couple potential options. Probably 2 that come to my mind is Great Falls and Butte. Great Falls, after we get through Kalispell Whitefish, they're the last major 7 that we host our conferences at that hasn't had a Big Sky Geocon. So, because our last one was the last Intermountain Conference, 16. So, but I think either option is great. Butte, it's been a long time too. It's been since 2019.
Law members do.
That was the only one I haven't been able to attend in probably over.
Is Anaconda ever like on the table? I know it's like not a huge town, but Fairmont, it has an awesome conference space.
Not while Jeff is a conference.
I would say no to that. No, I don't think, I mean, I think,
Big water slide gal. I might be
I
biased.
think Fairmont's changed quite a bit though, because they used to be, like, if you stayed there, you used to be able to just hang out in the pool all night long, you know, but now they have a very strict time of when they close the pool, and I could probably get on board if someone sold it to me, but
You don't have to go in the pool.
but then it's also on an island, you know, like, you'd have to do everything at the conference.
That's true.
Or bus everyone to Anaconda or Butte for meetups, so it's just like, what do we do off-site at Fairmont? Nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No, so, and I even saw several people on Thursday take advantage of, maybe Uber or something to downtown. I'm not sure if you were one of them, but there was quite a few people that hung out at Blackfoot.
No, I
And then
wasn't
either ate
there.
downtown and then they came back to the hotel later that night. So, you know, people do like their their town connections with these hotels.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
We can bring that back, but he's done being.
I would still attend. That's all I have. Sorry for going on.
No, that was, we started 10 minutes late, so we're right on time. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, we're on the back side of the agenda now. We'll move on to
I
chatting.
don't know if, I mean, I know Rob's been, I was just seeing his pop-ups pop up
Yeah.
there, so I didn't know if his chat's there, if he's was talking about something that we were talking about.
Oh, yeah, will you open those, Jeff?
Yeah. And then Eric
Eric
did,
said something
he
too.
mentioned that, yeah, the 2022 one was in Missoula.
Yeah, to hover over the very top, don't you?
I don't even see the control on this anymore.
Oh,
Oh,
I have it up on my machine.
There you
The
There
reason I'm
we
sitting
go.
here was to do this. I'm just like bumping along over here. Okay,
Yeah, and Jackson, if you want to, there's another screen over there. I thought I logged into the Google Drive if you want to open documents
okay,
on the
sounds
other
good.
screen.
Thanks. Yes, Rob, we did see your note and we're gonna discuss that when we get to the budget here in a few minutes. Rob also has a soft spot for Anaconda. Found Fairmont potentially lacking in the past, but maybe, I know they did a big renovation.
Yeah.
Not too long.
I've done conferences there and they've been great. They have great space.
We had our retreat there.
They have great space?
They do.
Is it something that can handle us?
Mhm.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize they were that big.
Yeah, we had our retreat there several years ago. It is a nice place.
Mine design conference is always a highlight there.
I mean, you kind of have to become an employee when you're there, kind of like at the Delta, like I know where all their stuff is because they do have a hard time keeping staff and there's usually like 2 people working. So you just kind of have to, it's kind of self-service a little bit, but yeah, they do have nice space and nice equipment.
Well, we should be used to that now. After
Right?
being at Delta.
Yeah, we're ready for anything. Okay, so we'll jump ahead to a calendar review. So we did go over the monthly meeting kind of cadence with the new members and the orientation already. So I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on that, but there are a couple points to discuss. So you should have gotten, did everyone get the calendar invites that Mike sent around? Okay, great.
It worked.
So we have all those scheduled for the monthly meetings. We don't have a location finalized for January for that in-person meeting. I'll get to strategic planning in a second. But otherwise, the monthly meetings are all scheduled. Third Tuesday of the month per usual. The one that Mike and I did want to discuss would be actually next month, July. For a couple reasons. One, it falls, I think, the same week that Esri UC is going on. So we wanted to get like a quick straw poll on if there were going to be a lot of folks out of town. Who's all going to Esri UC? Okay, so 3 of us.
Oh, Dave, I need your contact
Make
information.
it-
so we
yeah.
can hook up, yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, so a few of us. I'm also
Sure.
gonna be,
Oh,
I'll also be out of the country, so I would ask Dale potentially or Mike to run the meeting. I'll be in Europe. Doesn't mean we can't have a meeting, obviously. But those were kind of the 2 discussion points. It's also like, sometimes July is I've been on boards where it's kind of a nice break in the summer because a lot of people are traveling, a lot of vacations happening. But I know with the new members, we were worried that it might feel a little bit weird, like you jump in June and then don't reconvene until August, so. Yeah, I'll just open that up to thoughts on if July is one that we wanna potentially skip or leave on the calendar.
Well, July is generally when we approve the budget, because we'll be talking about the budget today, and then there always seem to be questions about certain things with the budget. So we approve it in July, at July's meeting. And I feel like in past years, we've actually pushed it back a week so that it's after the Esri UC, to accommodate that, if there's gonna be a lot of people gone.
Certainly doable. It's nice to get the budget approved in July. I always strive for that.
Yeah,
But we have in the past had to push it even further to the August meeting as well. With the idea that, you know, we still are running, or there is still money there is a budget. It's just not, we haven't finalized it yet.
there's a
Well,
couple
you-
things that are waiting right now, one of which is, John Nelson getting his plane ticket booked, and then the other one is the full scope contract, so.
Well,
Those two things.
there is another option, rather than pushing it back, would be to, get as far as we can today. There might be some loose ends, like we just mentioned, and then we can do an email vote. Now, if there's loose ends that require a lot more discussion, that's probably not palatable, but if it's just things that we need to like reach out to John Nelson and confirm, his travel dates, and if it's fairly low hanging fruit, I guess I'd say, I would be comfortable with an email vote and approval. And then we could get the budget, in place July 1 or whatever.
Well, and doesn't the budget have to be reviewed twice before we can approve it?
That I don't know. I've never heard of that rule.
I would guess Megan's spot on.
I would guess that too, but I've never heard of that rule.
I haven't heard of that either.
Yeah, that
sounds right, Megan.
Yeah, that must be pretty decent.
Keeping up procedures.
Oh, what'd you say, Nate?
Oh, I just said that sounds right. I was gonna say either 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
It took
Yeah.
us till August last year to approve the budget. We had
Wait,
a
that's a
number.
policy that has to be reviewed 2 or 3 times?
Pretty sure that's.
Well, let's review it today and then we'll review it in July.
Yeah, if those reviews don't, if we do a thorough review today and if we do an email vote, if everyone reviews it, does that qualify? Like,
I was not aware of that.
I would guess.
I mean, there's a
that-
rule that you gotta have to
that we're
send it
gonna-
out 2-3 weeks before the meeting though too, so.
Jackson, you said you're going to
I
use
feel like
it, right?
last year.
No, I'm gonna be in.
Is there, okay, so you're gonna be gone both the weeks, like.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be on like all.
And particularly because
Yeah.
in June, we have.
July
new
6th.
members and we have a new treasurer this year, so.
Okay, okay, so if it does need reviewed in person, then we will not be able
It
to.
doesn't have to be in person, but we just need to,
Yeah.
have a couple,
Couple meetings on it.
should at least have your eyes on it.
Yeah, I'd like to keep a meeting in the books in July, knowing that we had a lot of discussion and questions about the budget that came up last year. I mean, it took us June, July, and August to pass the budget last year.
I don't know, Lauren, Dave, do you guys think, I'm gonna try to make the meeting, but we're gonna be in San Diego.
Yeah, if
And
there's.
this is your first time, right?
Yeah, it's my first time.
Oh my God,
So.
I would just forget it. Is it gonna be your?
I would
first
just say push it a
Yeah,
week.
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
push it a
God.
week.
Yeah.
Week?
I agree with that. I would almost think that we should probably push it to the week after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll have better.
I think so too, yeah.
And because it's budget.
You guys need to
I'll be
concentrate
in,
on
I'll
San
be in
Diego.
Alaska, but because I.
Yeah,
live
you're not
here,
gonna
I
wanna
have
call
to
them
do
for a
it.
meeting. San Diego.
I've been there a lot, so. Well, I understand that.
Michelle just pulled up the bylaws and it
Yeah,
doesn't
it's a-
look like there's. oh, you
Twice,
did?
it's, you have to be able to see the whole draft budget
Right.
once prior to the meeting that it's approved on. So
Okay.
it's 2 meetings, one to actually see the budget.
So we'll write the budget
and
today,
Another meeting to approve it.
then send it, and then approve it.
Well, we have a draft budget in place already, but yeah, so we would need another meeting
I
to
haven't
approve it.
seen the draft budget. I haven't
It's
seen
on
it.
Google.
It's on
Yeah, there was a link for it in our.
Google Drive, yeah. it was-
Put it on there. Oh,
Yeah.
was that one of the links that
Yes.
you
Yeah.
included?
Yep.
Wilson?
Yep,
How did we get a draft budget if we haven't talked about it?
Well, you just copy the
Well,
last year's
yeah,
budget,
that's
and
what I-
that's your draft budget.
yeah, it's based off of last year's, obviously, with the intent to discuss today.
Right.
Okay, so it sounds like we have a consensus to keep a meeting in July, but push it back a week. So that would be,
I think that's a good.
That would be the
Second.
22nd.
We'll push it later.
Oh,
I'm flying that day. Did anybody do the Wednesday?
are you flying out or coming back?
Flying out. Going to Alaska. I won a raffle for a bear viewing.
I was gonna say, I think I'm going to Wisconsin that week too.
I'll definitely participate though on like a Wednesday or Thursday or Friday that week.
Are we talking the 22nd or 23rd?
Well, the 23rd would be the Wednesday.
Yeah,
Do
or
like a
even
July
July.
/ August meeting.
Yeah,
Can
the
you
other,
just combine them?
we could also move it up in August and do kind of like
Isn't
a
that,
longer meeting.
is that close to the 4th of July though, or is there a weekend?
No, I meant,
Oh, and
move
August.
the August one up and kind of split the difference.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Do like a July / August together.
Not important. that I
Oh,
hear,
that's
so.
an idea. How long you gonna be on it for?
Just like that week of like, well, the 22nd through the 20.
Well, you can do it like July 31st or August 1st or something like that. That'll be, you'll be back, Jackson,
I would think
and
that's
ready to
somewhat
get right to work,
unprecedented
right?
by not having a meeting in July and then combining the July-August meeting. We haven't done that since I've been on the board.
Yeah, I know, and then Jackson just brought it up that it's an idea that you can combine the two and have it more like a 2-hour meeting than a 1 hour.
Yeah, it would probably just require a longer discussion of the budget, so it might be a little bit longer meeting.
Right.
So I'm out of the country from the 7th until the 25th.
7th of August.
Because there's nothing that says you have to have one every month.
What about August 5th,
Yep,
Tuesday?
I love it. That's perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, and that will be official budget approval meeting.
Thank you.
So does that mean that in July, Nick will be sending that out to us after today's talk of numbers that we're gonna throw in there then? Is that what I'm hearing? So we all see it again?
Yes, I do think there should be email communication in July with updates to what comes out of today's discussion.
Okay,
And the idea would be that we're all going into that meeting on August 5th, comfortable with the budget. If there are any loose ends, then we can discuss and resolve them. But otherwise, if we're all good, then it will just be a vote to approve.
so that's gonna be the August meeting as well?
Yes.
Okay,
So yeah, Mike, we need to pull the,
update it. I'll try to update it again. And then are we, what are we thinking, 2 hours long?
it's hard to say before I put together the agenda, but yes, let's plan for 2 hours.
Just so everybody knows, hey, 2 hours, expect 2 hours, okay.
So for now, we'll plan 2 to 4 PM. And I'll do my best to try to get it down to an hour and a half.
Okay. And that's a virtual meeting, right? Yeah.
Yep. Okay, any other questions on monthly meetings? The schedule? Okay, so the other kind of one of our big meetings, the quarterly in-person would be the strategic planning session. So we did book that for September 9th and 10th. And the idea was what we did this year was we did our January meeting at the Delta Hotel, which allowed the conference planning committee and the full board to kind of tour the space and start to think through like how we were gonna set things up, which was pretty effective. So I don't know, I think it was several people kind of came up with the idea, hey, let's do that again this year and go to, I always want to say Sage Mountain, it's Grouse Mountain. Grouse Mountain. Grouse Mountain. So we have that booked for the 9th and 10th, and this is another one of those that's gonna bleed over into the budget discussion, which is coming up next. Because we have reached out to them and asked them to put a hold on rooms for us and the kind of the meeting room. They did not require a down deposit. However, it is gonna be a little bit more expensive than what we've traditionally seen for our travel and lodging. So it is gonna require a little bit of extra funding for those 2 line items if we want to go that route. So again, I know we're gonna get to the budget here next on the agenda.
Well, I mean, are you guys familiar with the strategic planning? It's a 2-day thing where we really work on our work plan and our, accomplishments from the previous year and, starting to talk about the conference and everything. Hotels covered by MAGIP. just gotta get there. Food will be covered, well, a couple meals will be covered.
And the other thing I want to do is considering the location and how far of a drive it is for a lot of folks to get there. I would like to, when we do get to this item in the budget, if we're comfortable allocating funds for people that might want to go up on Monday. So it's scheduled for Tuesday, Wednesday. Normally they start Wednesday or on Tuesday, kind of mid-morning. And so there might be people, you know, that are driving 6-7 hours. And so if we have room in the budget, it would be nice to allocate some funding, not for everyone, but for folks that did want to go up and stay Monday night. So I wanted to raise that. Who would be thinking they'd go up Monday night if that was an option, if we had funding for it?
I will think, yeah, I would probably, if that option was there, because I really don't want to start driving at 4 in the morning, so.
Sorry, what were the dates on there, Jackson?
9th and 10th, September 9th.
Yeah.
So currently I only have rooms tentatively for the 9th, but yeah, if we knew, I could get a few for the 8th.
I would definitely like to be able to get
Yeah.
there on Monday.
Okay, so a lot of people, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll carpool.
Okay, so we're gonna cut,
You're getting there.
You're
Sam.
driving.
I'll drive. Okay.
so we'll come back to like how much we would need when we get to the budget here. Our alternative that we scoped out was Jeff's favorite place, Anaconda.
Well, no, Anaconda was good.
Yeah.
Right,
we
That's,
went to
that's not
Anaconda
Fairmont.
with,
You know, we,
yeah.
or Jeff Sprock did
Sprock,
that,
and it's
that
great.
was great.
Yeah, no, I was
I got-
just teasing Jeff.
Oh. I got nothing but great memories of that one too.
Well, I love it.
So I was just teasing Jeff, but that is the alternative. So if we, when we get to the budget, if we're not comfortable with the increased cost, then we do have alternatives that would be cheaper. So,
It would be very nice to be able to go and see the facility. And I could make a really strong argument for spending the extra money, because we could also check out things like, where are we gonna put the vendors and
Yeah.
Yeah,
what are those rooms gonna look like?
well, and just
you
to make
guys-
you all aware of this, I probably will not be attending at all in person. So,
Oh, is that because of your budget?
yeah, because
Because of babies.
Oh, babies, the babies.
Got 4.
Dang it. I
So,
forgot the babies. How could I have forgotten that?
but yeah,
So you want us to go
What's up, Judy?
investigate and take photos for you? Is that? what
no,
you're
I
saying?
Well,
already,
he's been
I've
there.
already,
He was there with Michelle.
but it'd be great for you all to see it, but just be mindful
But you
that
guys have already
Michelle would
figured it out.
have, you have to default to Michelle for all the questions and
Oh, shit.
we're in good hands. I think.
Michelle's one of them.
Sounds like-
Okay.
But
Write that
it
down.
really all depends, though. I mean, I think the Anaconda one's attractive as
And
well.
it would be cheaper
It would.
and easier to travel to for.
It would be
Yes.
at Fairmont, yeah.
And last year we
Oh.
really pushed
It
the
wouldn't be
budget.
at
Not, not at the
It's
port.
Fairmont, we're talking about Fairmont.
We were talking about Paramount.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to talk about the Ford.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I do like Forge.
The Forge, that's what it was.
Yeah, last year we really pushed the budget on the strategic planning event. We ended up making a budget modification to pay for additional food. And it was slightly higher than what we had done in the past. So it does sound like Grouse Mountain Lodge would be significantly higher.
Oh, well, yeah, well, I mean, we'll get to the numbers. It would
Yeah.
require more, and especially if
Yeah.
people are gonna go up and stay on Monday.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are gonna kind of be our two options, and then we do need to reserve something, so we'll have to make a decision on that, after we talk budget, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, cause if we decide not to do Grouse Mountain, we really gotta make a phone call pretty
Yeah.
quick on whoever else. We need to start finalizing a few things.
Yeah, for sure.
We could always, I mean, we've done this in the past, it's been a while though, but, we can always hold like a meeting up there too, like one of our in-person meetings up there, or in October.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you kind of would have to make a special, special trip for October, but we've done that, we did that for, I can't even remember what it was, I think it was when I was president, or maybe when I was vice president, we did an October in-person meeting at the facility that we're gonna be doing the conference the next year. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Okay, I do wanna take maybe a 5-minute break before we dive into the budget. We can all use the facilities, grab some more. I can always scroll over too.
We can basically see everything else. on the screen now.
Okay, our drink orders are good?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I allocated an hour for the budget, so we're gonna go a little bit over. We'll probably go till 12:15, but that'll still leave us 45 minutes for lunch, which I think is adequate. So I did not print a bunch of budgets off. That would have been a lot. Wouldn't fit on 8x11 anyways, but I did send it around. It's up on the screen on the right. I can't make it too much smaller. The folks online won't be able to see, like I'll be scrolling a lot. So if you want to pull it up on your own computer, please do so.
And where is that again?
In the email. Jackson.
Oh, and the email, okay, got it.
Yeah,
Go through the email.
Yes.
Yeah, it's also in the drive,
Yeah, we're in the drive.
under treasurer,
Got it.
budgets,
Good.
FY 2026.
Good.
I'll give everyone a minute to pull it open
Yeah, with the notes, I guess we'll go.
with the notes.
Yep, I got her. Got her, on her.
Okay.
Okay, and Nate graciously agreed, even though his term has officially ended, given that it was Nick's first meeting, Nate graciously agreed to give us just a quick overview of fiscal year 2025 and the fiscal year 2026 draft. So Nate, if you're on and can hear us, I'll turn it over to you.
Take
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah, thanks. Yes, so the actuals for 2025 are up to date as of last Friday. And so most everything is in. There are just a few expenses that we're waiting on to pay. And one of them is the last invoice for Full Scope. And the other one is for a $1,500 check to be cashed in for Sarah Tabor for the K through 12 education grant. But other than that, everything is pretty much up to date, and you can see that yeah, we're in the green by $6,000 so far. So for this past year, yeah, it looks like we're looking good.
Say that, 6,000?
At the very bottom,
Oh, at the very bottom.
row 75.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Hey Nate, could you move your cursor over to the next cell? Cause your name is on the top of it.
You
Oh,
scroll
oh,
to
If
the
you scroll to
bottom.
the bottom.
That's me.
Yeah, it's Jackson.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm driving. So
Gotcha.
Nate, is this okay if I drive or would you rather drive?
So.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll drive. That way you don't have to think and navigate the spreadsheet.
Okay, perfect. So I've started filling out the 2026 proposed budget, and you can see that I've left some notes on the other side of that description column. So yeah, last week Michelle provided the draft conference budget for next year. And so in there, she has a lot of expected revenue and expenses for the GeoCon next year. And so I just went ahead and filled in those amounts for 2026. And then I've highlighted some things in this budget that might need more attention and discussion. And so, yeah, one of them is just if we want to approve opening up another CD for this year, and then possibly considering just kind of renewing that automatically might be nice. So we don't have to kind of go through that every year.
What are interest rates at now? Nate, do you know?
I have not looked.
Probably three something.
I think they just dropped recently, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it getting to be worth it still to do this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. You're just not gonna see the high fours anymore.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, cause that's what we have when we first started.
Yeah. And so, yeah, scrolling down, the other thing highlighted is swag. That's a little increase from last year. I think we budgeted $2,000. But for this last conference, I think we spent a little bit more than that. And I think, yeah, Michelle had budgeted $3,000. And then I also included a note. It was mentioned last year that maybe we should consider keeping conference swag and general MAGIP swag separate. So possibly creating another budget line item for MAGIP general swag.
Well, that would be, the general swag would be on this one, and then the conference would be on Michelle's budget, right?
Yeah, but he incorporates my budget into this.
Yeah. Oh, right,
Yeah,
but you still have a separate budget though, right? And then the final line goes into here.
Yeah, I mean, the budget I do is incorporated into this, so that 3,000 is what I budgeted in the conference budget.
Right.
So if you wanted a separate one, you just add a separate line item that said, one's conference swag, one's
Oh, right.
MAGIP general swag.
Right, okay.
yeah, and it does get kind of confusing because, yeah, Full Scope does have a separate budget, and then we incorporate it into this budget. And so, I don't know if there's a better way of doing it, but I've just left notes on the side here, letting us know where those amounts came from.
So Nate, would your recommendation be to separate them out, or wouldn't another alternative be to use GeoCon supplies as a catch-all for both conference swag and the other supplies name tags that are currently in there?
So maybe just increasing this amount to include both MAGIP swag and conference swag.
No, I was suggesting increasing the GeoCon supplies to include enough to buy swag specific for GeoCon.
Oh, gotcha.
And then
Yeah,
leaving the
yep.
other swag is like the general that we just talked about.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
The two are kind of different though, I mean. I don't know, but you also kind of once you do combine like that, you do kind of lose the history on it as well. I don't know, I think of the supplies as more of like things you need to help run the conference, and swag goes to the members, so it's kind of, you kind of treat them different.
I would agree with that.
Should we add a swag item under marketing, under program?
I think that we need to consider that last year for the GIS day, there was a request to have swag available, and I think that we should budget for that. As swag separate from the GeoCon. And then also, to Mike's point, there needed to be swag available at our other member organization events that we attended, right? We needed
Exactly,
swag
oh,
for that.
yeah, I mean, right now, the swag, the general swag is down to
It's done.
basically zero.
Yeah.
We do have the pints though, those are gonna last several years, 'cause we're also not gonna just.
Well, yeah, but we're not just handing those
Yeah,
out, yeah, right.
But you can
exactly.
still count on them to use the, raffle or,
Oh, sure, well, I mean,
so.
I mean, Mega has a table now at Marl's, and we have a booth at MAP conference as well now. We
Yeah.
coordinated with those two other organizations, and we have tables, but our tables are pretty bare
Yeah,
now.
we just have pens and stickers, that's.
And
that's all we
meetups,
have.
sometimes you guys like to get that stuff out at meetups.
At
too.
meetups as well,
Yeah.
yes.
I really like this idea of adding a separate swag item under
Yeah.
marketing,
Yeah.
because it would
I
be
agree.
relevant to meetups,
Yeah.
other conferences, and separating it from the cluster of GeoCon expenses. which-
And that is where an appropriate place to put it, because it is marketing for your association.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, so sometimes we end up ordering extra for the conference, knowing that, hey, we can always push the extras to our meetups and stuff, so that's kind of what we've been doing the last couple of
Yeah.
years.
Okay, so there's consensus on separating them. So now we need to determine an appropriate amount for both.
So last year for GIS Day, there was a request to buy notebooks for the meetups for GIS Day. And the cost of that was going to be approximately $2,000, based on the number of people that could potentially be attending those. And I don't know if that's an appropriate amount, or if that's even something that you want to consider, but if that's what we were looking at last year, the chances are that it's gonna be increased
Yeah.
this year.
Nate, do you know how many notebooks typically come with that order? Because I think it usually covers a couple of years.
Yeah, yep, I think we ordered about 200 notebooks last time.
So that would probably cover some. couple of years.
Well, I mean, you're not talking about those, I mean, the notebooks that we ordered last time were for the Billings conference, and those were really pretty high tech.
No,
I mean,
I'm just talking about the
You're talking
great,
those
the 10 ones, yeah.
Yeah, this thing.
Yeah, we just ordered those specifically to hand out at our
Yeah,
conference.
these things.
Yeah, to hand out at our booth.
Yeah, these are
and
awesome.
during GIS day, yes, yeah.
Do we have a specific person that makes this?
I think there's a company.
Yeah, we, in here in, Helena, Allegra, they have our previous order, and so they could, yeah, they could do it really quick. And I think it was about $900 for 200 notebooks.
Okay.
Well,
That's
I
really
would-
reasonable.
yeah, we definitely
Yeah.
need to do that for
Yeah.
sure, I think.
I like Gail's suggestion. Did you say like $2,000 about like, let's market. We're trying to get more involved in other conferences and organizations and doing more with GIS Day. I think a lot of you guys know, I feel it's important to be marketing ourselves and have that available. I like Gail's suggestion for the amount. We made a little more last year than we expected.
Unfortunately, and I'm all for that, but unfortunately, I mean, the stuff that we make this year, we can't count on that next year. I mean, granted, we have been going up every year with our conferences and stuff and making money. This year's in Whitefish, everybody, it seems like it's excited, gonna be there. Are they gonna make it travel though? I mean, everybody, the travel cuts, everybody's getting travel cuts now. Is this something to consider? I mean, I'm all for this, and we're adding another $2,000 to our budget now, which to me doesn't seem like a lot at all compared to what we've been making.
I did, when I sent Nate the proposed budget for Whitefish, I did send him a conservative budget and reduce the attendance estimate to 150, I think, Nate, is that what it was?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I did
Consider
try to
that.
be conservative in case we didn't have as much people and as many people.
That's good.
You're so smart.
Yeah, and also it doesn't include, if you guys do decide to raise, attendance cost, registration cost.
Oh, yeah, I didn't, yeah, and when I did the estimate, I didn't increase any workshop or registration fees, so you'll see in the revenue for 26, proposed revenue is quite a bit less than what our actual was for 25. Just because I was trying to be conservative.
Yeah, it's looks like $100,000 projection versus 114 that we had.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, we had 100 for the conference, and then we're proposing 89.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yep.
Well, and I think probably before we approve this budget in August, we'll probably have an idea of whether or not we're gonna raise workshop. I mean, I think we should do one, maybe not both. Raising the cost of either workshops or registration fee.
I agree. And for example, like the swag item I put in was of $3,000. That's 15 to, if you look at it this way, if you have 150 to 200 people at a conference, that's $15 to $20 per person. Which anymore, like if you want to get them a nice kind of a bag or backpack, or we did dry bags this year and a couple items to put in it. It's not really that much money. Like it's hard to get that,
I would agree with that.
anything with that amount of money. So that's why I put that amount in. But you can certainly reduce that and just do like a cheap bag or something too.
Why are you guys so up on raising prices for the conference?
Well, okay,
I'm really,
let's just go one thing at a time here.
yeah,
We need- Well, the first thing is swag. I think if we're comfortable starting with the $2,000 number, I mean, we have to make sure this all pencils at the end. So, we can spend, an hour on one item, but I think we should move forward with Gail's suggestion of, for now, and putting that $2,000 swag line item.
In marketing.
good more.
Yeah.
In marketing,
You
a
got that
separate
there?
line
Yeah.
from the geocon budget, which is supplies.
I'm so happy about this.
Me too, yes. Only you and me more. Well, now Mike is like, everybody wanted more swag this year. Like, we have way more budget, right? I know, right?
Fine, Nick, jump on it.
And then the other thing to remember is that just because we're allocating 2,000 doesn't mean we have to spend 2,000. It's just there.
Oh, no, exactly
Yeah.
right. No, that's exactly right.
And it's so much easier if we do it now than having to make an amendment to the budget, right? That's just so.
Hey Nate.
Yeah.
A quick question.
This one conference.
How come the net for the proposed net for 26 is so much higher than the previous years?
Yeah, we haven't gotten to it yet, but I haven't included administration costs and some other things
Okay.
in the budget yet, so.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's-
there's quite a bit to fill in still.
Okay.
Nate, can we go to like your next highlighted item? I think this is working well to kind of take those one.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, the next highlighted item is the administration cost, and I think we're just waiting to approve the contract with Full Scope. I don't know if we have a draft of that yet, and I
We
wasn't
do.
sure of
We motion to
price for
vote for
that.
that now, or?
We don't have an approved budget though.
No, but
We'll build
we
it
can
into the-
approve the contract.
We've always approved the contract before.
Got it.
we've approved it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I mean,
Thank you.
did everybody see the contract? Take a look at it?
Yes.
I mean, it is basically the same except for raised up for inflation purposes, cost wise, so I am perfectly fine with it. I would certainly, I would let everybody make a discussion about it if they have anything to say, but I would love the motion to approve that right away.
Does anyone have the amount for that for next year? Handy?
Yeah, it would be 24,550, I think, Nate. Michelle knows.
And that includes does that include Alicia's position too?
So,
Want the total?
so I'm looking at
Well, this is the new one.
our old one ends on July 1, and it looks like the second year was 23,835.
No, according to this thing,
Okay, never mind, Nate.
it says 22.
Does that include Alicia's salary?
Yep.
Because.
Did
Okay.
I do it?
Did you?
Did I send you a bad?
Maybe.
Let me see it, pass it down. I might have sent you.
Wait,
a
Of course, that you
Figure
would have sent me a
out where
bad
this-
one there.
It's
I'll
not.
fling it, we'll get a paper cut.
So it needs to be administration right there, professional services.
Okay.
And then.
This is
where's-
MAGA.
Oh, yeah, because I
I
can't.
mean, it's got the dates to it, it's got the right dates. so.
Yeah, I think I sent the wrong thing.
Uh-oh, okay.
I want a motion for that one.
Hold on.
I like the 22 number as well.
I can look. That's
I
mine.
might have looked at an old one, because I feel like I looked at.
Well, this is the one that Michael and I just recently did, so I don't know what.
Yeah,
happened.
that's got the dates on it.
I don't know what happened. I'm looking at maybe our old one was found.
And is there a 3% increase year to year?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So 3% this year and 3% the following year.
Correct.
yes.
Okay, but I think for now, Nate, you could put in 24 and it's gonna be based on whatever is going on with this, it's gonna be close to that. And you, as I'm looking, you guys can keep talking and then.
Yeah, at some point, Michelle's gonna send us out the correct proposal one.
I'd have to check with Michael. Let me see what I can do here. Get in my file.
So who's manipulating the budget, put the numbers? Nate?
It is.
Okay. It seems yellow.
Okay. So I guess we'll wait for a final number on those, but we know it's roughly 24,000 for both administration and communication specialist.
Yeah, that's both. I didn't realize we had,
Oh, yeah, that's
Is-
combined. The 24,000 would be combined, sorry.
yeah.
Maybe that's the confusion.
This is her, just what she does.
I just have to see what Michael did.
I think you're breaking your contract here by not supplying the correct information.
I know, right?
I don't, Michelle had rave reviews in the MAGIP conference.
Yeah, there-
Literally, there were like
Yeah.
18 comments about what a rock star she was.
I found it. We just see here and cut it out of her. I just. think-
I know, I mean, you gotta be,
Yeah.
I know, you gotta be nice to her, I know.
There should be two.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, we'll come back to, it's roughly 24. We're gonna come back when we have firmer numbers for the breakdown between
The
the,
24 is for both.
for both, roughly
That's
24.
correct.
It would be
That's
for
correct.
both, yeah.
And we're not approving the budget right now, so we're gonna leave that in.
Yep.
Okay. Nate, on to the next.
All right, continuing, yeah, we just have our annual tax service, and then postage and travel admin staff. Then we have software, that's for QuickBooks. Conferencing, that's our Zoom subscription. Payment processing, this is a percentage of transactions that are handled by AffiniPay. And then we have $700 for our ArcGIS online subscription.
We have one question here, Nate.
One question, does the lodging come from the contract or is that separate out of Michelle's contract?
That is separate. Yeah.
All right, Nate,
Yeah.
keep going. We're with you.
All right. And then we have taxes without another question.
Yep.
Sorry, yeah, on Affinipay, it looks like
Yes.
the actual was 4,211, but we've only budgeted
Yes.
3,500. Is there a reason for that, Nate?
Yeah. So, yep, last year, this is the actual amount for 2025, $4,211. And next year, I did reduce it down to $3,500 because this is a percentage of the transactions that come through Affinipay. So things like registration and workshop cost. And so if we go back to the top and look at the revenue, we dropped the revenue for those categories. And so we're going to have less amount coming through Affinipay, so we're going to be paying less.
Basically, because we've conservatively estimated revenue, this is lower.
Yeah, and if we have more transactions, they will pay for themselves because
Yeah.
we have higher revenue.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Moving down, under board travel, we have lodging and facility rental. And so this is the amount for our strategic planning meeting in September. And then also if there is facility costs for the in-person meeting, in January. So yeah, once.
Nate, let's hang on that one for a minute, because I can fill us in with some numbers. So, and Michelle, maybe you can help me. So this has always been a little weird because it's been split over the fiscal year where we've been paying for a down deposit in the previous year, and then we don't pay the full amount until the next budget is approved. But traditionally we've had, hold on, let me pull up.
Well, we should take that into account that for this coming up here then. too.
Right. Well, we haven't done a down deposit.
Well, no, what I'm saying from the one I come up with.
Oh,
may
right.
need
We
to
don't,
come
we
up.
don't always, yeah, we don't always have a facility that, I think last year was the.
The first time.
Yeah, well,
That's-
first
yes,
time,
that's
right,
what
yeah, I know.
It's kind of rare to expect that as well.
Right, well, that's true.
Yeah, and most of part of that was just to make sure that we could get a facility, because Michelle had said that it was getting harder and harder to book those facilities if we didn't do it in advance. So for what it's worth, last year was the one time that we had done it.
Yeah, so traditionally we've had, let's see, last year we essentially have $2,000 allocated for the lodging facility rental line item and then the food line item. As Gail pointed out, we actually went over this last year and had to approve additional funds just for the food. So for Grouse Mountain, the numbers that we've come up with are only based on rooms for the 9th. So we will need to do a calculation with folks that are interested in staying on Monday. So we can do some of that.
Yeah, and well, just a quick reminder to the new folks too, that the food in this item actually has to cover for both the in-person meetings too. And so for next year's budget would be January and June, so this one is still under last year's,
Yeah.
the current budget that we were in, not the one we're looking at.
That's a good point.
Oh,
Maybe I
right.
just forwarded that to you.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, lately we've been having big dinners at the strategic planning session, so
Smaller dinner.
maybe a Wendy's trip would be
Hey,
good.
that's your own president, I think we just ordered pizza and
That's
threw,
right, that turned out really good.
I was gonna say, we could just do
Okay.
pizza, do something like not expensive, right? So it would be,
Yeah, we'd be
the meeting room, I think the meeting room is downstairs, right?
good.
The port was awesome. They had a great-
Yeah, Nate, if you want to add a couple of these notes while you're editing the document, so the meeting room for
Attached to it.
Yeah.
Grouse Mountain would be 300 for both days.
300
I
a
think it
day.
was an
Oh, no, 300 for both days,
amazing-
you're right.
Yeah, 300 for both.
300 for both days.
Yeah, no, it works.
And then-
The rooms for our dates are $249 a room.
Yep.
Which is, I just wanna say is cheap for.
Well,
Yeah, that is,
Is that the government rate?
so they gave
It's
us,
close to it. That's cheap.
they gave us rates for all of September and the dates, we picked the dates for the cheapest room. So they go up as high as
Or something.
$450. So I know everyone's, this is why I was waiting for the budget discussion because it is, like I said, it is more expensive. So we would be,
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
We have a lower rate. for-
I mean, like,
We
I
have a lower,
think
we have a lower rate. for-
the El Rancho was
We
110, I think.
in Whitefish.
And we doubled up on some of those for our room.
I mean,
at
that's,
Alistair.
Megan, that is not a bad idea. Like you could do,
We could
you
stay
could stay
nearby
somewhere else.
and then just go visit.
Well, and you could still do your meeting at,
Could still have
you could still have your meeting at Grouse Mountain, but you could sleep somewhere else.
Well, that's an idea.
I mean, that's a thought, right?
There is an advantage though to staying in the hotel, because if you stay in the hotel, then you get a sense of what the service
so it
is
is
gonna be like, right? I
A
know,
lot of
I don't disagree with you, and that really blows the budget, so I
Yeah, that
don't
really
disagree.
does.
Yeah, so
We're doing two.
for just the rooms on the 9th and the meeting room, it'd be $2,500.
$1,000 more than what we're supposed to.
And that's not
That doesn't
including food.
include, yeah,
You're right,
it
that's
doesn't
right.
include food, but the food is on a separate line item,
Right.
so we would
Right.
have to change, we'd have to modify.
I don't-
it.
When I was president, it was $1,500. That was what you got to spend. That was what I was told, so.
Yeah,
Well, I think this is,
Going over
this is a board decision, really. I mean, we do
No,
have,
I
we have a surplus from
Yeah.
this year, and if we want to allocate part of that, then we can make like Grouse Mountain work, but I think it'll require at least 2,000 increase in that line item for lodging facility rental, and maybe a little bit more if people do want to go up on Monday.
And the lodging per diem rate for Whitefish is $232, just so you guys know.
well, and I would say just another potential option, so when we met in Helena in January, I actually used my company credit card, so my credit card that I have through the city to pay for my lodging and went up the night before. So there's an option potentially to do that as well, if people want to go up, that they would pay for their own room. And then the one night would be paid for by MAGIP.
Yeah,
That's another option too.
Yep.
So,
I would like to go for the more economical option,
yeah.
personally.
I mean, I agree with that, but I really do want to, I do like the idea of going up there before the conference and seeing the place.
I do too, because
Well,
it's hard to,
But that price is.
yeah.
Jeff and Michelle, you did visit the place.
Yeah.
Last spring, didn't you?
Yeah,
I think it's hard for us as a board to market a facility that we've never visited.
Well, they visited.
I agree.
Well, I mean, like.
I
as
think because,
team.
I think due to the space limitations, it's gonna behoove the board to look at the space and make some decisions.
Yeah, because I think
So that
that
everybody's on the same
very big
page.
deal. Yeah.
But that's just my 2 cents.
How long does it take to get to Grass Mountain from Bozeman? Just curious.
5.5.
Is
I
it
think.
5 hours?
Yeah.
And what time does it start? Don't we start the strategic planning event like at 10? Or did we start at 11?
Oh, no, I mean, we can start
Earlier.
later, but we usually
Okay.
put it 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
Usually people get in by 11.
yeah.
So,
you could always hold the October meeting up there too.
Well, if we want to try
And you
to,
still have the cost.
Then make it optional to attend,
Oh, I see, but then you still have the same cost.
in the
but
hybrid,
not to stay overnight though.
yeah, but people are still driving.
Yeah, we're still gonna be
Yeah, it's
staying
been driving.
overnight. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
Well,
14 hours. for me.
I know, yeah, I mean, some of you probably will be staying overnight and it is October.
What about something like this? What about if we have a check-in time on the Tuesday of 3 or 4, whatever time the check-in is at the hotel? We have a 2-hour planning event in the evening, plan to have dinner together, and then plan on the next day, instead of it being 4 hours, having it be 5 hours. And then people could travel home. That's a 10-hour day. I mean, that's a very big day, even in a hybrid option.
It doesn't change the pricing though, I don't think.
Well, it would just be one night as opposed to 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought, somebody was suggesting if you want to go the extra night, you'd be on your own.
Yeah.
Well, that's
you could do
another
that.
option.
That's another option too. So I could probably get approval for that, but I don't know that everybody could get approval for that. And if you're traveling, I mean, Mike, for you, I don't know if that's something that's gonna be in your travel budget and you're coming the farthest.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that would be my ideal option would be to approve a budget increase that allows for people who don't have support from their work to be able to stay on Monday, but not for everyone to stay on Monday. That'd be my ideal. 'Cause I do think
Be
it's
able to get approval for that?
Not sure.
Yeah, I don't know if I could either. I think I'd
Probably,
ask for it.
I don't know.
Well, what Michelle and I can do is we can get a firmer quote, because we didn't get a firm quote. Well, we did for Anaconda, didn't we? For
We did.
Carolina?
Mhm.
Do you remember what that was? So you're
I
gonna
can
have
tell
that
you.
on hand. Just for comparison's sake. It's way cheaper.
I'm biased because I love water slides.
Well, I have hours of Malta, then I can take the train over. I just gotta drive up to Malta.
Seattle, and Magic House.
Oh, yeah. My bad.
Cheaper than the.
You also can PJ, right? Just jump on the county PJ.
Yeah, exactly.
We have, I have the 8th available. I could set aside a block of rooms at the government per diem rate of 110 plus fees. The rates based on 2 beds.
110 per
And-
room, so
and-
less than that.
Yeah, the fee includes 8% tax, blah, blah, blah. The room rents for 150 per day, so it'd be 300 for the room again. The room includes a stream. Then
So that would put us right by the 1,500.
Yeah, that would be more in line with our.
Just for-
Yeah, what was the budget for last year, Michelle? What were the rooms? Sorry, I can't.
For what?
So what did we pay last year for the El Western for the rooms?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay, it's not on the
I
actual.
think that was
It might be,
Yeah.
I might have this in here, sorry, I got distracted.
2025 actual.
The deposit was 900 and the remainder was 800, so it was about 1,500.
Oh, right, okay,
Or
and then we had the
$7.
meal, and that's where the
$7.
expense came in, because it was like $600 or more, $800, something like that. It was more expensive.
Either way, before I go to get the sandwiches, I would just say, I would just recommend to you all as a board, whether, if it's not the strategic planning,
Mhm.
as Jeff mentioned, to schedule some type of a meeting at the location of the next year's conference. Early enough on that the board can see the space and you guys can make some decisions. And if it's not gonna be the strategic planning, I think you need to do something at the location of the next year's conference.
Yeah, when we get into
That should just be like a
October,
standard policy
we
item.
start to get into snow and ice. So in Bozeman anyway, we've had snow in October, and as in like October 1st, we've gotten dumped on and frozen roads. So that's always a consideration too, that the later we go, the harder it's gonna be.
You need help,
If
Michelle?
we're gonna go see it, why wouldn't we do it at the strategic?
That's what I would say too, for the strategic.
Well, it depends, because if we're talking about Fairmont option, you got Fairmont, Whitefish, the two, you have the distance. And then you got the overall expense, if you have it at Whitefish, then it is worth it.
I think there is something to you all seeing the space but
Oh, I agree.
I mean-
I totally
I see
agree.
the value too.
I mean, the value's there.
But
That's
depends
better
on how much
than
you
another
spend.
$150 per person.
Yeah.
You know, per one night, we're not even talking about the extra night. I mean, I'd say we'd have to jack this price up. I mean, 2,000 just covered the one hotel room for the one night for everybody.
Mike, I might text you when I come back, just to see if you can help me carry stuff in.
Okay, sounds
Oh,
good.
yeah.
I got my
Yeah,
phone,
happy to,
Okay,
happy to help.
thank you.
my phones, yeah, I got them.
I'm gonna ask Nate. Nate, do you mind weighing in? Just, you've spent the most time with the budget. Just, do you have your 2 cents on the wisdom of allocating an additional 2,000 to 2,500 for lodging facility? The big upside being that we get to see the space and plan for GeoCon.
Geez, yeah, it is quite a bit more than we've spent in the past. But if the benefit outweighs that increase in cost, then yeah, I think it's up to you guys to decide that. And I mean, looking at the revenue from previous years, we've always been, yeah, well over well over the amount we've budgeted for, so, or I mean, like, the net revenue, we've always seen net revenue, so.
Yeah, my feeling is that it's a 2%, like if you look at our overall budget, $2,000 is a 2% increase. I think that's worth it to plan a really good conference, given the numbers from the conference and the excitement around 2026, but that's just my personal opinion.
I would agree with that. There are some comments. I think somebody made a comment in the chat. I just saw it pop up.
Yeah,
Rob said, I can read it for those of you in the back. He said, asking people to travel to Whitefish 2 times for MAGIP events is asking a lot. I believe we're locked into having the conference there, so visiting is not going to make much of a difference. We can have an effective planning meeting anywhere to save on costs. The decision is to have the meeting in Whitefish no matter what. I offer to give up my room and provide my own accommodation. Overall, we have other budget items to firm up before we commit to extra expenses, so we may come back to this.
Yeah, thanks for reading that.
Other thoughts?
Rob, it's kind of hard to hear you for some reason.
Oh, yeah, his microphone's shot.
Okay, how about, can you hear that?
Not well enough, Rob, unfortunately. Okay, well, if everyone has their 2 cents in, and we can come back to this and leave this for last when we have a better idea of the overall numbers and kind of what we'd be looking at.
Let's do that.
Okay,
Let's do that.
okay.
Does Nate at least want to pencil in like just, because I mean, it is. nice
No, I
to
would,
Go along.
I wouldn't pencil anything in.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Just see what a conservative is.
Yeah.
You see that net number kind
Yes.
of come down, I mean, you need to see
I
something.
agree.
Well, then I would put the 1,500 in.
right,
Yeah,
right, right.
Yep,
that's,
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, Nate, if you can just pencil in last year's amounts for those.
yep.
So next is food. Yeah, I think originally we had budgeted quite a bit less than $1,100, but we had to amend the budget twice to increase that amount.
I'd pencil in just 1,000 right now. We can come back to that.
Yeah. Here, okay, so actual, what was the actual for 20?
So I really think we should talk about the scholarships and stuff.
Well, I do think that we need to consider cost of living increases in our budget because one of the food that we have been purchasing has not been exorbitantly expensive. I will say that the Western, the meal was slightly higher than what we'd paid in the past, but we need to consider the cost of living has increased and probably is going to increase again, and we need to reflect that in our budget.
Well, I think $1,000 is already reflecting that.
I don't think so.
Because, yeah, we usually budget 700.
Oh.
I mean, Gail, you're exactly right, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
the
kind
$1,000
of the
is
whole,
what we
the conference.
amended twice.
It's kind of the whole conference thing as well, you know,
Yeah.
like, like what we purchased 10, 15 years ago, before we're charging our members the same rate, it doesn't go nearly as far. And,
Yeah.
yeah, that's my argument of having a little bit of increase just for our conference, and then it does help for these talks as well,
Yeah.
a little bit nicer, so
Yeah.
that's my argument for, it's not about, increasing the bottom line, it's to help these discussions.
Yeah.
A little bit better, and also increase maybe the scholarships, they have the luxury to increase the scholarships, so.
Right.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
About 1,200 for the proposed 2026 food budget. I know about 1,100 is what we ended up with. 2 increases was our actual.
I was just penciling it in.
Yeah.
I was going to go back to that.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't care what we put in there.
yeah, it seems like bump it up a little bit because of the inflation that Gail's saying.
It all completely depends on which, because most of that most of that food budget is blown using on the strategic planning. So it really depends on what you want to have during that event. If you just want to have pizza, then you can probably lower that number to 700.
And it depends on if you're eating that sage mountain. or
Yeah,
grass
so
powder.
like,
I liked it.
Uh,
I liked it when you
I can't control everything.
treated us to that fancy dinner.
Well, let's not get hung up on this. Just,
Okay,
let's put in 1,200 for a slight increase, but we'll come back to it. Take it away, Nate.
All right, moving down to program expenses. We have the GIS Day Awards, and so we have 175 budgeted for that. And that's for the map competition that we hold on that day. I think we give out first, second, and third prizes. And then longevity award, that's an every other year expense. And so this GeoCon coming up, I think is a year where we give out is it two awards, Jeff? I can't remember. We're making
up to 2 awards, yeah.
up to 2 awards.
Or we've done years where we only had that one, which depends on the number of nominations we have.
Okay. And I think back in 2024, we spent 156. So I just put in $200 there. Poster, these are for the poster awards at the GeoCon, and then also the MSU Earth Science Colloquium poster awards that we give out.
I'd like to advocate for increasing those for both. Because I think third place right now is getting, Nate, correct me if I'm wrong, $25 or $50, which, getting back to our discussions about inflation, is just not really cutting it. It's not that's, considering the effort that goes into these, I think we should increase that.
You also mentioned, I mean, there are only like 3 posters at the last conference, so maybe that'll incentivize a
Yep.
little more.
Well, this poster category, that includes the web maps as well as the paper posters?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a question. So this poster line item includes the GeoCon and the Earth Science Colloquium?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can we rename that poster / web apps, since the GeoCon kind of goes to web apps too?
Yeah, so right now, if you can't read at the back, so we have $800 proposed with $575 for GeoCon. That includes the web apps and the posters, and then $225 for the MSU Earth Science Colloquium.
How's that gonna get broken out?
It says
Like-
right there.
No, I mean, like, at the Earth Science Colloquium, there will be 3 awards, and then is the top one like 100? And then 75 and 50? Is that right?
Yeah, it's kind of different every year, and it's kind of up to Brian Anderson and whoever he talks to at the conference. But there's People's Choice Award, there's student poster, and then professional poster. Yeah, I think those are the main categories.
We can combine a couple of those.
Oh, and then the web map awards.
I got a problem throwing another $200.
I was gonna say, let's bump it up to $1,000, and since it's about a 70-30% split between the two, maybe we could have the GeoCon map contest for 700 and the Earth Science Colloquium for a 300. I mean, it's not a huge increase, but
I like that.
I do too.
And yeah, I think this should be communicated to Brian Anderson in the spring, just so he's aware that we want to increase that amount. And then also maybe advertising the award amounts so people know how much they could possibly win if they did enter.
And that'll come in December, Jeff?
The what?
When you start advertising for the map and the poster comp,
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
December that we do that?
Yep.
Okay. And that goes out from Alicia and social media, but also through the
The
listserv?
website,
Yeah,
yeah,
all
listserv,
stuff,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. try to hit.
Yeah.
as many goals as we can.
All right, ready to move on?
I think so.
All right, yeah, scholarships. We have the K through 12 education grant. And yeah, in the past, we've budgeted $3,000 every year. And you can see what we've funded in the past for that. And then same with the MAGIP higher ed scholarship.
And did folks get a chance to read Rob? I know Rob, your microphone's not working super well, so I'm gonna summarize your comments if that's okay, but did people get a chance to read those?
Yeah.
Yeah, try this. Can you hear this?
Oh, there we go.
Go.
Look at that.
All right, okay, but please go ahead and summarize that since it might be easier for you to do that, but then I definitely have some things to say.
Okay, well, I'll just take them in turn. So in terms of the budget allocation for scholarships and grants, you can see we have it broken out into, as Nate just went over, the K through 12 and the higher ed. So we have 3,000 for each of those. So Rob's first proposal was to consider, instead of a set amount, using a proportion of our annual operating budget. Say, for example, if our budgets, this year we have proposed about $100,000 budget. So if we said we were going to allocate 10% to education, and we would just let that dictate the exact amount that we put, that would, it obviously depend on the percentage that we landed on in terms of where that would fall in relation to our current amount. Yeah, I'll stop there. We'll just take them one at a time. Do we have thoughts on that proposal?
Yeah, so let me clarify that a little bit, but thanks for taking the lead on it. In my message and in my overview of this component of the budget, I'm putting a couple of things into the grants and scholarships bucket. So we have the grant and the scholarship. We also have what we've called student scholarships, and I'm really hoping we can come up with a better name than that because it confuses the actual scholarships. And then we have what I'm suggesting is some member support. So what I'm considering here is, we're putting money towards scholarships for students, but our profession is one of constant learning. And I think it wouldn't hurt if we make essentially what we would consider scholarships available to members.
That's fine.
Right? We've talked about this. There's been support for it from the membership when we've discussed it at the membership meeting and that type of stuff. So put all those things together. And then if we consider that bigger bucket, I would suggest that we then think about the entire MAGIP budget, 100 grand, and then think about, a percentage that we might want to allocate towards this type of philanthropy. So if we, say 10% might be a reasonable amount to allocate towards philanthropy, then I kind of broke it out and into where we're at here, and that would continue with, and the other part I wanted to make clear, when we put $3,000 towards a scholarship component, that does not include the rest of the components of the scholarship and grant package, which would be conference registration and the travel stipend. So I included that in my write-up. So we actually have to consider a number other than just the face value of the grant or the scholarship. So I think we need to consider that. You have those numbers in front of you, and we can develop those numbers as we see fit. And if you've read any of the stuff that I wrote, are there any things you'd like to talk about?
I have a question, Rob. So one of the things that we've talked about over the last 2 years is potentially starting an endowment And knowing that it takes a lot of money to be able to pull from an endowment to support any kind of real philanthropy, to use your term. Is that something that you think we're in a position to do, or how would you consider starting that?
Well, you notice I didn't put that in my note. Right, so I giving it some serious consideration, seeing where we're at. I don't think we're close to being able to do that at this point. Right, it would take at least $25,000 to $30,000 in a lump sum to generate its own income to provide for 1 or 2 scholarships. So I love the idea. I'd love to pursue it. I don't think in the near term we are quite ready for that. So
Yeah, I think that could be a discussion for the
in
strategic.
response, you know, just to make our endeavors towards scholarships and member support and generally, you know, what used to be called the Education Committee, and I do think that's kind of a more appropriate name. So, you know, whatever we want to do to encourage education, whether it's for students or members, I propose thinking about it in a larger perspective of potentially a component of the MAGIP budget, right? So as our budget increases, we're able to potentially offer more. If our budget decreases, maybe we have to reduce that proportionately. So that's something I just put out there. I know it's a lot to digest. Currently, if we want to just fill in the boxes here, we put, you know, the $3,000. I mean, that is like way behind inflation. It's been that way for 10 years, right? But it's a big chunk. So anyway, if we keep 3,000 in each, we still need to consider the other, you know, we're about 4,000 short on what it actually costs to run the scholarship programs. So, you know, when you consider the travel stipends and the conference participation and things of that nature.
Yeah, so Rob, what I'm hearing you say is that maybe we need to change this category. I'm fine. I don't have a problem with educational philanthropy or maybe student and member educational support, whatever that means, so that we can input a couple line items specifically for registration costs and travel stipends.
Yeah, right. And so it doesn't matter to me where you put those numbers, but like I kind of put in my note, so 3,000 for you know, a grant plus the, you know, additional package components. So we might want to increase those and then maybe think about how much we would like to put towards member support. And we could specifically think about that in terms of, you know, how we would allocate member support. Would that be through, you know, people applying for money to participate in a workshop, and then how much would we give away with each whack? You know, $100, $200, $250, whatever a workshop costs. How many of those opportunities do we want to offer? So I know I'm throwing a lot at you. It's a lot to think about, but I think it's worth thinking about from an organizational point of view. And then I see you're pointing at that student conference support. What exactly is it? Student conference support, what is that?
Well, I think we already have a line item that should cover the travel and registration. So I think, but Nate, is there a reason why we had no?
No. See, this item here, this $900 that Nate put in here, this is what is essentially a component of the grants and scholarships.
Right, so we need
correct.
budget
Right.
for that for 2026, assuming that we had 6 awards. Right?
We didn't have any last year.
But we have to assume that if we gave
Yeah.
out the full amount, we would have. So we have to.
Yeah.
Up to 6 awards.
Yeah, and so it's 6 awards, and each one of those awards can be $150. And so, we should budget at least that amount. And then I've written in here that the remaining amount could be used, it could be split up based on request and however the board sees fit. So if that's like funding other members to get to the conference or whatever.
But that doesn't amount to much, right?
Yep.
That's like buying a cheeseburger for somebody, So like, if we're serious about that part, then that's what I'm getting at. We're about $4,000 short at minimum here in this department. So you might want to move on, but I just wanted to make sure that we kind of think about that and we can put some real numbers to it.
Yeah, and I guess I have a question for you, Rob. Do you have an idea of what the scholarship amount and grant amount should be?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a philosophical question, right? I think we acknowledge that what we give away in scholarships is a pittance. It's not a scholarship, it's like a little bonus, right? By the time you pay for, what it does, it pays for student fees, and then there's a little bit left over that they can apply towards their project, which who knows how that gets spent? Maybe to buy a hard drive or
Hey, but Rob, do we have a
something like
comparison
that. So
number?
it's in line, the other scholarships that are out there, like Montana View and Missouri Scholarship, they're about the same, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's more of the recognition piece. And that's why I feel like the conference attendance and things of that nature, maybe even a plaque, which we've talked about, it's the recognition that is providing the value. Monetary sum, heck, it could be $5,000 and it would still be relatively small, right? So I think we need to worry less about that part. I think it's reasonable. But what we're really offering is professional recognition.
Rob, I'm hearing you say two things. On one hand, I hear you say that the amount is grossly inadequate to support the students, but then on the other hand, that it's not really about the money. So for today, if we're going to come up with a proposal to increase these, we do need a concrete number on what would be more appropriate.
I'm comfortable keeping the actual numbers under those two lines, the education grant and the higher education scholarship. I'm comfortable with those numbers being what they are. However, I do believe that we need to be realistic and include the other costs associated with those grants and scholarships, which include the travel and registration, right? So rather than,
Line item for those?
well, there's the conference, the student conference support, which I feel like, it's not accurately describing that.
What if
Right?
it's
So I believe that,
Support. Well, we get the point, right? The point is to what Rob's saying, to make sure that we're accurately budgeting for recipients to be able to travel and register for GEO.
So has there been an
Correct.
increase to the grants and scholarships line item in the last 3 years?
No.
So if we consider everything else that we've considered, that there is an increase in inflation, and rather than tie it to the budget, but commit wholeheartedly to the scholarships and grants and increase it based on like a 5% increase year over year, that would increase the amount of the scholarship, and it would make a true commitment to those scholarships, regardless as to what our final takeaway is in our budget, right? Like, we would be committing to, rather than a percentage of our budget, to always having that money available for grants and scholarships. That would be my preferred approach, because I'm like, I think if we're gonna say we're gonna have a grant and scholarship that pays out $3,000 or $3,500 or whatever that amount chooses to be, I think we need to commit to that year after year after year. I don't think we should be decreasing it. Because I think that in the event that we don't have a a conference that earns as much money as we did this year, we wouldn't be even considering going to Grouse Mountain. We would definitely be looking at, hey, we're gonna cut down the budget that we're gonna spend as the board so that we can continue to support the grants and scholarships, which is our members. That's my opinion, but like,
Well, students aren't necessarily our members yet. We're hoping for them to be, right? But yeah, look, however we want to do it, I think, you know, we're looking at a minimum of, you know, I think we need to consider how much we want, if we want to have this member support component, and how much we want to put into that. Because right now, in order to support the grants and scholarships at the current level, you know, we're going to need at least $7,500. Right? And then we need to talk about member support, if we want to put anything in that bucket. And then
Let's
we
take
talk,
one at a
then we
time.
need to talk about the student conference business.
Right, so Helen, what's your back of the napkin math?
My back of the napkin math, and based on reading through Rob's notes, which by the way, Rob, thank you so much for sending such thoughtful, insightful information. I really value that. So, just thinking about, I would love to see us do more in the grants and scholarship space as well. I would suggest, just based on the 10% number Rob was talking about, that we might aim for a $10,000 in this bucket and to put $3,500 towards each of those scholarships, to put $2,000 towards the, oh wait, I think I have this flip flop, $2,000 towards the GeoCon travel registration support. I think you called out something like 2,500, or yeah, in these last two, it would be like 2,000 and 1,000. I think we should do the 2,000 to support any scholar recipients of those awards so they can get to the conference.
Are we comfortable penciling those in to see where that brings
I
us?
think we should.
yeah,
I would love to see us do more for the students. And you guys probably know I feel pretty.
But wait, let's not confuse the two. Right?
Yeah.
So the money where you put the 2,000, that actually is tied to the grants and scholarships part.
Yeah.
Right.
And like,
We tried to separate, I thought we were trying to separate that out from those grants and scholarships.
This is like, look, I've lost all this hair because of this part here.
well, this is specific for the grant recipients.
I know, and that's fine, you know,
And then like the,
I'm good with all this. I mean, that's why we keep it separate from, you know, I mean, when Rob says it's tied to the scholarships, we try to keep that separate from the higher ed, you know, grant and the other education grant, right? Am I not?
Let's clarify something here, right? So, so $900, we need if we have six, you know, if we have 3 awardees for grants and 3 awardees for scholarships, that would be $900 in just travel support that we would offer, right? And then we also going to do we want to account for registration? That, you know, we're giving them a free registration. Do we want to account for that in the budget?
Well, we are offering that in the scholarship, right? That's the language that's in the.
Sure.
proposal.
I mean, it doesn't. Yeah. So if we want to put that in terms of a loss that we would be receiving by having 6 people not pay registration, right? But if we account for that, whatever that amount is, I don't know what the registration fee is going to be. So if it's $500, right? So that would be $2,000. So we could just put that in the grant and add that to the grant and scholarship component. The way the budget's written currently, the student grant student conference business, right? This is the thing that Jenny runs. We've got 10 students or so that we give complimentary registration to. They can come and show up to the conference, help out, participate, right? That's, sometimes we have that in the conference budget. You know, it might be easier to consider it in this part, again, as one of our philanthropic endeavors. So I suggest thinking about that. And then I suggest thinking about member support. You know,
Yeah.
do we want to have essentially a scholarship or grant program that our members can apply for?
I was gonna suggest $1,000 bucket for that member support. And then that rounds us out to 10,000 in this whole cluster of, if we're just penciling in some numbers in this cluster of grants and scholarships buckets. But one question I had is this 10 students thing that Jenny is doing that always feels like she's kind of like doing her own thing, is that accounted for in this budget somewhere? Because I'm always confused about.
And she didn't get any.
Yes,
Sure.
thank
It's
you.
a conference,
Yeah.
but it's never,
It's-
it's not used.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
confused about that too, because I never write a check to anyone for whatever she hands out. So
Right,
I don't know
right.
how
And
that's
It
paid
hasn't
for.
been billed, like, probably post-COVID, more than the 30, well, I mean, I would be surprised if we handed out more than 5 scholarships post-COVID. Put it that way.
Well, and I know that there was a conversation about providing this money in different ways. And we have, over the last 2 years, increased our communication with the universities so that we could get students to attend. And maybe there's another way.
That's more on member support though, for travel though, not through paid, because I think they still pay for their registration. Mega just helps provide money for cost for travel, right? Travel and lodging, is that how that's
This
used?
year, we.
Yeah.
I think
Are you talking about for the?
for students, yeah.
But for billings though, I think you guys applied for more.
Yeah, we
requests
did
for
apply
assistance
for
around.
travel
Yeah.
funds for that.
So
It's
listen,
so
just to round this part of the budget out from my perspective, so you can stop hearing from me and have the discussion yourself. Personally, I would put $2,000 in the member support, and I would put 1,000 towards student conference support.
Well, maybe I had them flip-flop.
Yeah.
That's what I originally wrote down. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Rob.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, the line item in the conference budget is just $750 and it's for 10 students to get it's really a conference fee waiver.
Where is that in
it's
the
not on this.
operating budget? Cause it's not in here.
Maybe because it hasn't been being used.
Well,
Maybe.
because we're not cutting a check to them, we're just waiving their fees, the cost for
Yeah.
incurring.
Well,
their
we used to with the
right?
travel stipend though.
But that's a travel stipend.
We're talking
yeah,
about the
which is different.
registration.
Oh, well, yeah, that's kind of that's a hidden fee because,
It's an in-kind.
yeah, essentially it's an in-kind, yeah.
And I think what it was, I don't know the complete the inception of it or the history of it, but since I've been working for MAGIP, it was something that Jenny would always just send out. I think it was just to encourage more students to come to the conference. So she would send it out to all the universities and say, hey, you know, we have some money to comp your registration. And if you're traveling from over 100 miles away, we'll give you $150 towards your travel budget.
Yeah, it sounds like
But I
that,
don't know why it was ever created or.
yeah, it sounds like that program might need an overhaul, but I don't think we need to.
It used
do
to
that.
be really used. I mean, like, I think
Yeah.
the 2 conferences I went to as a student, I got the registration comped and then $150, whatever it was, because I was
Before we
traveling.
had you, Michelle, we
Yeah.
had students running around doing things.
Yeah, so,
Right.
so that was part of your duty when you
Right.
got that stipend and that scholarship, you had to sit at the registration desk or moderate a session. But we're not doing that stuff anymore.
Yeah, okay, so just so that we can get to lunch, here's what I'm gonna propose. We have 2 line items left. So I'm gonna propose that Nate walks us through these remaining 2. We take a break, eat lunch, and then we'll come back and look at the big picture and talk of where we're falling after inputting these projections. Is everyone good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Nate, can you hit the last 2 under marketing?
Yeah, yep, the last 2. So we have swag.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about swag and we just moved it down here underneath marketing. So we have a separate MAGIP general swag versus the conference swag. And then meetups. Last year we budgeted $1,500. And yeah, this year we spent close to $2,000. I think close to $1,000 was for the meetup during the conference, and then $1,000 was for the other meetups throughout the year, largely for GIS Day.
Nate,
s-
did you get it again? So the meetups for the conference are included in this meetups? Not in the
Correct,
conference
yeah.
budget? So it's separate. Oh, interesting. I didn't realize
Well,
that
he's referring to meetups like that you would have,
for GIS Day.
yeah, those kind of meetups.
Yeah, but not the meetup that we had at the conference. That's a, that's. a
Yeah, the
separate-
Monday night meetup at the conference, I think is just its own kind of thing.
Well, he
Is
has
it? Cause he has
He
it in
just
here.
said
Oh.
here that it's, yeah.
Oh, did you take that out of my conference budget too, Nate? Like, do you have it in there?
Yeah, yep.
Mhm.
So I think you have $1,000 for
Yeah.
the meetup on Tuesdays. And
Yeah.
so if we're looking at this description, yeah, I've included it here.
Oh, you.
And that's
didn't
just
know.
because we don't have a category under geocon expenses. We never have. And that would just, if we did want to add a category for geocon meetup, then we need to create a category in QuickBooks.
Okay, and that's the Monday.
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem to have it, cause it's like the, even though it's at the conference, like the main conference.
It is a separate event.
It feels a little Yeah. bit separate. Well, and do we have our sponsors pay for that?
Well, we
We
did
have
this year.
We have gotten sponsorship work.
But not every year.
Not every year. Just to help offset the cost. So then Nate, there's just 1,000 left then for other meetups and GIS events. So like,
Correct, yep.
And we're still sticking with the 200 that we're gonna offer. No, we do 200. I mean, we could raise it to
Yeah, that's kind of the default amount.
for the meetup request.
for the meetup, yeah.
We didn't need $200 for the GIS Day event. The only time we had a request for higher than $200 was when Aaron Fashaway asked for additional funds for the event that they were having in Helena, and it was a board.
Yeah, I think 200's fine.
Yeah, I think
that's-
$200.
Especially now that we have a dedicated swag budget, because
Yes.
that's another expense which is related, but now we've set aside money for that, so I think leaving it at 200.
I think we're okay at
Yeah, if
Yeah.
though we're thinking 5 GIS days or meetup a year, that sounds about right.
I think this is a fair projection. I don't think we need to increase this personally.
Yeah,
Didn't we have 5 separate events? Did you talk to Hillary about that, Lauren, about how many GIS days? Oh, okay. How many?
We-
GIS
I
we
days?
had
five or
about, we
six.
had about 5.
That's 5
Okay.
sounds right.
Okay, yeah. Does anybody remember?
Hey, I rarely talk about spending more money, but I do think meetups, have been a really successful thing for us. People have enjoyed that and I'm talking about beyond just GIS Day. So if there were ever room in the budget, I do believe that meetup would be a great place to put it. It may get spent, it may not, but I do think, we talk about empowering people to collaborate, and I think that's a great way to do it. We haven't put a lot of,
Do you think
since,
I'd like, oh, sorry.
no, just since we're more in the in-person world and at work and stuff, I think we put less emphasis on it, but it's definitely, it grew, in popularity. We talked about having another one in Missoula and that type of thing. So anyway, if there's ever room in the budget, I do feel like meetups are a great place to invest.
And could I also add on that? So I'm looking at what we budgeted last year versus what the actual was and what we have proposed for this year. And I think that if we're sticking with the idea that there's 3% inflation, that is not enough of an increase to cover.
You
If
just
we're
said
looking at-
200, we're fine.
Well, I know, but I'm looking at the budget
Like
and
what-
I'm looking at what we budgeted last year, what our actual was for this year and what we have proposed for this coming year. And I don't think that increase is gonna cover
Should we
that increase based on costs.
bump it up to 2,500 and then if we don't spend it all, like, even
I'm
if,
never worried about spending it all. If we don't spend it all, great, that's not a big deal. I have no problem I would almost say 3,000. Bump it up 1,000 more and
I love it.
3,000 is a 50% increase. I'm voting for 2,500 and
I
see where
think,
we're at.
I think that's better. I
That's
think
fine.
that's safer, and I think that covers cost of living increase and a slight increase, because it's, we have heard, I would just say that when Hillary was putting together the GIS Day events, she was concerned that there would be enough money in the budget to cover all of the meetups, because there was a request from another city, and I can't remember if it was Kalispell or if it was Butte, but there was a city that hadn't participated previously. And I do remember that she was concerned about the dollars that were available.
Well, we don't
So,
want Kalispell, so.
well, if we're gonna be up close to Grouse Mountain Law.
That's true.
I know they recently had a meetup up there, but they were just, because I talked to Colin up there that works for Flathead Electric. And I did mention about, we have available funds, but I think they just chose to kind of just go, because they kind of have their own user group that they've kind of been able
That's
to
cool.
stay alive in the last couple of years coming out of COVID, so.
Okay, let's break for lunch because my blood sugar is being low.
Sorry, I'm starting to get.
Do we think 110 is reasonable to pick back up with the budget summary numbers? 110?
Yeah.
I know. Nate, are you still there?
That's impressive. Oh, fucking crazy. It's like 2 more minutes.
Yeah, we'll give Nate, okay, I said we're gonna get started, no, we're gonna give Nate a minute.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's like a snowfield. I know. It's crazy. Yeah, that was the storm. It went through it. It was nuts. Whenever I was going towards it, you could see that.
Are you on the Gallatin?
I still don't watch it. Someone just waiting there, storm.
Gallatin. A good bunch of Montana. I just started.
I think the.
All they want is
this
to
cut out.
like
It's
roller
like,
skate.
it's like on the park,
Very slow here.
sun's out. Like, but yeah, I just.
Stuff, so.
Just get.
I was,
Oh, you have it. It's just.
I like being like.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, but.
Better.
Well, just my mouth really went.
Yeah.
You know, with Shepherd. Or no, I'm sorry.
So Jeff, when I came over. You wouldn't come out, right?
My God,
They put it on me. When I, between like Garrison and. From Garrison all the way to Darrell, I was just like, no, oh, just like some hail, yeah.
Oh, wow.
How do you like that?
Yeah, today was fun. Yeah. it was
Well,
fun.
I'm really into OneNote with a pencil.
Yeah.
With this.
Yeah,
I
that
can
was
do a
fun.
combo of like
It's
typing
so
or
good.
writing where whatever I feel like. And then it all shows up on my
Right now.
There was
computer.
rain. Yeah, it was rain.
Yeah, you do all that writing and then you tell them to do, and I'm right out of it, and it's like 1 second. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
I did all that work.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I know,
since T-ball
Just
game
need
got
colors
rained out,
and
we
then
got
people
about,
like go
we got about
horizontal
15
and like
minutes
draw
in, and
a
then
map off
all of a
to
sudden,
one
like,
side,
there was
you
a
know?
cloud, like, I think it was a 0% chance.
I
the rest
just
of the day.
like, yeah, I like.
It
I've
rained
always
earlier
liked
that day.
that.
Yeah.
I-
And
But
it's
right
like,
during his game, the cloud.
yeah, so it literally came over Mount Helena,
2021 or
and
something,
the other game
so-
before us, so
And by May,
weather was
I-
starting coming right before
make
their
it a-
game, or right
a new
after.
one
their game.
eventually.
Ah, shoot.
It's on my
We'll
list.
see if that starts.
But it's like, I don't really have.
coming
a
this way to-
personal computer.
It did, and then
I'm like,
down.
need
Like, we barely got back to the truck.
I don't even need for, I
Down.
have a work computer that I can use for work, and then
So, yeah, it was like a mad.
it like acts like a
scramble to get with the
computer.
cars.
Is that your work?
Are they feeling
No,
good
this
now?
is just my iPad, my
Are they,
personal.
That's your personal.
are they feeling?
Yeah.
No, so.
But there is like a, we
yeah,
have these VDIs, which is
I
like
don't
a
know what
virtual
was up
display
with
interface, so I'm
his
not on a
daycare sent all
VPN,
a
there's
few-
just like
few
a
kids,
window
including
into a
some,
high power computer in
with
Tampa.
10-foot mouth, and I went to the
So
doctor.
all of the stuff I would do would be on
It's
the
just
local
like
network
there's
drive
some
there,
sort of viral-
and so it's quite.
Like a viral rash or
Yeah,
something.
but I have that little
But
Horizon.
it can be
client on
confused
here,
with
so I can
it,
literally
but-
like log into my Windows computer through the iPad, it's just like.
But it still costs me-
Anyone have Nate's cell phone?
Yeah.
Does anyone have Nate's cell phone?
No.
Might.
Well, I gotta get off my hotspot here. So it's starting to put battery on. What is the?
Yeah, I have it.
It
I
is.
don't see you.
Yeah, we just text him, Jeff, and just tell him. No stress, but we're ready to start. whenever he is.
COV, yes. This one? Oh, down.
We're driving around.
Well, this is my work zone, so I don't need, I can't shut this down, or else I won't be able to,
You,
My
do you need a plug?
go off.
Okay, I got all kinds of plugs in my backpack if you need one.
And a battery backup.
I do, actually, I do. I don't like running out of power. I almost always have like a small battery.
Good plan.
What do you use to take on the plane? I bark on it. That was my first,
Mike, do you want this back?
my original dog.
Probably didn't hear me say
I-
110.
What you have
Oh,
for
no,
reminder?
No, actually, I really tried to find a good picture of
But
her.
these
and
No, we can come to it.
I looked at our.
It's
last
very,
one.
I was like, she
Yeah.
hate
This was.
We have everything penciled in, we have a, essentially it would be projecting a surplus of 8,000.
It's like a times for love dogs.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, we need to go back, so let's just have it covered.
I think we have to,
That's what I was looking at.
maybe, yeah, we did this.
We have everything
Yeah.
penciled in.
Maybe I was,
That was,
Including the full-
I think that's when the Sprock was around there.
Let's just go with this one.
Yeah.
this is the right one.
Okay, we're just gonna get started, just because I'm not sure if Nate heard me say 110, so I don't know when he's gonna be back. So I think we should just get started.
He's back, but he's not
He's
back.
not engaged. He's not engaging in the conversation.
Oh, so what I thought we could use the next like 10 minutes or so, we're a little bit behind schedule, but I think we can get some of the remaining, agenda items done quicker than I allocated for. So I think it's important to kind of look at the budget in sum now. So we have everything allocated, including the full scope.
He's back now.
Oh, he's back. Yeah, perfect. I can let him take over then. I don't have to. Nate, whenever you're ready, we were gonna just review the kind of overall budget numbers and where we are with everything penciled in.
Okay. Yeah,
Is it saying that we are still $8,000 in the black?
Yes,
So we're
Yep.
in the good,
yes,
and that's with
Yep.
local conference numbers.
yes.
And that's what this, I think,
Right.
full scope's gonna be less too, because I think, yeah, this is the right one.
Well, that's ridiculous. We need to spend some more money.
Well, go
That's why we just bumped up the meetups.
to Grouse Mountain.
Oh, that's right. We gotta go back to the meetup thing.
yeah, and I think part of that is because the facility cost at the Grouse Mountain Lodge for the conference is a lot less than the Delta in Helena.
Hmm?
So,
So we're not missing anything with the conference, you got all that, or projected numbers for the conference, he's got all that in.
I think so.
Yeah, we
yep, all of the,
I don't know if he takes everything off my sheet and puts it here or not. I think you do, Nate, don't you?
hold on, yeah, I do. I'm just looking at the fees and honorariums that cost, and I may have missed something there by quite a bit.
100 for John Nelson, right?
Yeah, John Nelson, we have budgeted 1,500. But the fees and honorariums, that includes what we pay the instructors for putting on the workshops.
Oh, yeah.
And-
23,240.
Yep. So this should,
Or never mind.
yeah, that might change our numbers quite a bit.
No, the 2,400 is way under for what we pay out from the
That's gonna put
instructors.
us in the red.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
that's,
that will-
that's gonna put us in the red.
Yep,
Increase workshop fees.
Well, if you put 23,000 down, yeah.
yeah.
Fees for the workshop that comes out of.
Wait, I-
23,000.
I'm still, so I know
Oh, no, I guess you're right.
we talked about this in a previous meeting, but the actual 2025 fees and honorariums are almost, it's $8,250 more than what we budgeted
So
for.
they all increased their workshop fees for one,
Okay,
and then we offered three other, well, in two new workshops for them, but three total. For Friday, so we essentially had two more workshops that we had paid instructors
Oh,
to.
that makes sense.
Than we typically had. But it's one of those things where it's like, if we get good workshop registration, that number naturally goes up. If you have low registration and low workshop numbers, that number goes down. So it's something that's very hard to account for.
Is there a way that we could account for the cost of the room, Jeff? Or Michelle? Because that's one thing that we've talked about, whether or not, like, if you have a certain number of people in the room and how much we're charging for that tech session, are we covering it?
Well,
That's what we were talking about.
that's what we're talking about. That's just one analysis we have not done yet. We
Yeah,
have not changed
okay.
workshop fees probably since 2016.
Is that gonna be a strategic planning event when we talk about that?
I think we're gonna,
Before that,
No,
Yeah.
these two are gonna be talking about
Yeah,
that.
before that.
quickly.
I think that's gonna come in before the budget.
and then we would propose something to the board.
Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, which would probably make up some of that deficit. And yeah, and I don't know how you guys feel about the 150 number. I was just trying to be really conservative. So if you look, the difference is almost exactly what I've reduced the conference revenue to be. So if you, how confident do you feel there's gonna be more than 150 people at Whitefish, or should we stick to the 150?
Well,
I
Don
got-
Nelson,
Well, I've got no problem
I'd say one thing,
guessing if we can get a budget off of this and we're in
It
the
would be
black,
good.
then we're gonna be, we're
But I
more
don't-
than likely gonna. be
We're not
doing
but I don't
well.
think we are in the black. We're gonna be in the red after this. So Nate,
Oh,
have you,
we are?
Nate,
Yeah,
have you,
now
Oh,
that-
yeah, now, Nate, what number have you
Right
put in?
there, 12,000.
Now we're 12,000 in the red.
Yeah. so now
Oh,
we're-
'cause this was blank before?
Because it was like 24.
so you decreased the number of people that
Oh, that's
were
right, that's
attending the
right.
conference
That's
by
why I was
50 or by 75?
75.
By 75, and that makes partially sense because of the students. But what if we increase that to 175, be not quite as conservative?
Right,
How does that affect our budget?
that would, and if we average, let's just say that was 25 more people, let's just say if we leave the registration fees the same, that would be another 6,100.
Okay, so.
And
but
then
it's still
potentially
doesn't
more
cover
work,
it.
but then potentially more workshop revenue too.
Yeah, okay.
And how much did we make last year then?
22,000, I think.
22?
Is what it finally came
About
out to.
22,000.
Yeah.
No, we're in the black or in the red on that, you know.
Yeah, I think those conference numbers have gotta go up. I mean,
Yeah,
it is nice to be conservative, but
maybe I
there's,
might have been.
there's to a point.
Well, the lowest in the last 4 years is 177. So if we did 175.
But that's what I was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
suggest,
Okay.
175 maybe.
Okay, so let's,
And what about the number of rooms that we have allocated? If you're looking at the number of people that are attending and knowing that this isn't gonna be a conference that's really close to anything, do we have enough hotel rooms allocated?
Probably gonna have to go to another hotel.
yeah, we're already contracted for our hotel rooms, and then if we feel like we need to get some overflow courtesy blocks, we could do that, but we just went with what we normally do,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
based
you.
on our numbers,
Yeah, yeah, okay.
You guys, John Nelson did not ask for any reimbursement for offering workshops,
So
so.
Michelle,
yeah, yeah.
what should
We're-
Nate put in for that? Cause I don't think it should be as high as 23,000. Cause if we're expecting a lower registration, you would also expect a lower workshop
Yeah.
registration, so that would not put us at 23,000.
no, let me see, what do I have in my budget, Nate? I don't have that, my conference, oh, here, let me look.
He's gonna be teaching.
Oh, but not really.
So yeah, I think all these numbers have got to fluctuate based on 175.
I'm like signing up for anything now.
I did put 24,000 in, assuming the same amount of people would go to workshops,
Yeah.
but are we thinking maybe less?
We did.
I think naturally, I think there would be less if 75 less people would show
You
up.
weren't there.
Curtis told me to tell you to
So why don't we lower that to 20,000?
When we tell him, he texted me. right
Did you hear
away.
that? Okay.
Yes.
And then why don't let's assume 175 people, and I guess we'll just assume those extra 25 are at the 245 for now.
Yeah.
So increase the registration line, Nate, by 6,125. So
Okay.
what do you have, 37,000?
43,125.
Yeah, 43,125.
Does that impact the affinity?
A little bit.
See if
Wait,
then-
That's a good point, though.
I'm a little bit confused there because our 2025 actual was at 40,000.
That's because we had 225 and we're just guessing 175, we're trying to make
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
educated guess of what we're gonna get.
Yeah, but what?
And we're
if-
trying to do go low.
If
so we
we're
can
at
lower.
175, shouldn't it be less than the actual from last year? Right now,
It's a good point.
it's.
3,000
Yeah, why
more.
is it more?
Looking at it right now. Oh, because some of
Michelle's
them,
math.
well, some of them might have been students, some might have been one day, but then some were higher too.
So
So,
maybe we shouldn't, maybe like 41 or 40 in like
yeah,
last year.
yeah. What does he have, 43?
Yeah.
Do 40, Nate, let's see what that does. I wouldn't increase the workshops at all,
Or sponsors.
or the sponsors, yeah.
Yeah, we did really well with sponsors last year.
So,
6,000.
what did that, yeah, that helps, okay.
So our options now are to cut things that we have increased today, or to consider raising additional revenue. The most obvious would be increasing the registration fees for GeoCon.
Mhm. Which have not been increased since,
I vote for that option.
for years and years.
What if we increased the fees by $5 a piece? That's not that much, like a small amount. Does that do us any good, or do we need to?
Not really.
Not really, okay,
I was gonna suggest by 25, but
25
So they haven't been raised since,
forever.
it's 2016, I think.
yeah.
16 or 14 was what?
I think that can actually be detrimental. I know we want to keep it affordable, and I do want to keep it affordable, but you also have to show that it's valuable.
Yes.
And without at least keeping up with inflation, I mean, I think we should do a meaningful increase, but not more than like 10% on the high end.
Michelle, the last time we talked about this, you had compared like MAGIP to some of the other conferences that you work with, like other organizations that you work with, and how much they're charging for their registration, and we were like, in some cases, we're like,
Yeah, your conference is really inexpensive.
it's very inexpensive.
I think that's a benefit. I don't know why we want to, considering we end up all the time in the green.
Because we're in the red, right?
Well, because right now we don't
Well,
have
I
enough
know we're
operating
in
budget.
red right
Well,
Well,
the conference ends up in the green, but it supports so much of your other association
Yeah.
that. So even though the conference isn't ending up in the green, it's subsidizing so much of the other association, which I think is good, but I also think one thing that you guys need to look at, and I know you just increased your membership fees, but growing your membership numbers. I mean, because those, what do you have budgeted for those? It looks like you were less than last year.
Yeah, yep, and I mean, our membership is very dependent on, or it's very connected to how many people attend the conference.
Mhm. So if we had a 10% increase, basically that's $20, $24.50, which is what
25,
Jackson, yeah. Was that Jackson or Michelle that suggested $25? That would take it to 275 or
270, right?
but even 275 is really reasonable, and I personally think that the after March 18th should be increased, right? We talked about this last year, that we really should have people.
Well, it should be much, well, because I think before, it makes sense if our membership, when it was $30, that it would go $50, but now it doesn't even really matter. So like, it should, like that after March 14th should at least be $100 more, or
Yeah.
$75 more.
I agree.
If you
Then the original price, I should say.
if you back into your budget, like, what's our total costs?
I think
Now-
we need to,
Yeah, if you back into your, what you should be doing is like, so if the total expenses budgeted are 75,000 divided by 175 people. That's $428 a person is what it's costing you.
Thank you.
That's with a regular early bird member rate.
How much of, what is it? Sorry, is it say it again?
So the conference per person, if you take the 75,000 in expenses and divide it by 175 people, that's 428 a person.
And that's
So
not,
what you're charging is not even covering
The conference
Right,
expenses.
so what's carrying you through is the sponsorships, the
Mhm.
workshop and the workshop fees
That would make sense.
and all that.
So the moment, say like half of our sponsors go away, just hypothetical, we would actually be losing money.
Yeah.
Significant.
And
Yeah.
the sponsorships will be down this year, I promise, because the budget, like my budget for sponsorships, I just heard last week got cut because of federal
Mhm.
spillover effect, so there are gonna be organizations that are squeezed, maybe not all private organizations, but there will be less sponsorships.
Yeah, so one of the ways you're able to keep your registration fee down for people is because of those sponsorships and the workshops kind of make a little money. But yeah, if you didn't have those, your actual costs.
Well,
Or more than what you're
we're
charging.
paying people to go to the conferences.
Yeah. So I do think you should increase them, but.
And giving them swag.
Well, and it's going to support our other initiatives, which are
Yeah.
the things we've increased. So member support, scholarships and grants. I mean, you know, it's not like it's going to buy us all really fancy Yeti bucks or something.
I would love it. Come on.
But and also though, if we look at it on the face value, it's not like we can just go straight to 400 too. We're gonna
No.
lose a
Yeah, I would
lot.
agree.
We're gonna lose more, we're gonna lose enough people who are just like, why do we do? why do we do
Yeah,
that?
agreed, right.
I like the
100%.
470 to 475, or not 470, 270 to 275 number for the early bird.
But then I think there should be a steeper penalty.
And then, yeah,
Right.
more like a 350 for the
I do too.
after.
I don't
Yeah,
think
and
it's enough,
especially because
I don't
of
think it's enough incentive to register early.
That's the cost of your membership.
Rob, we can't hear you, Rob.
Go ahead, Rob, if you have thoughts. We can't hear you yet, though. You might be.
Cram that microphone in your mouth.
It was working earlier. What did you do differently?
We could hear you earlier and now we can't.
There you
No, nothing yet.
No, I do not think.
It's kind of like every once in a while we hear something,
Oh.
like there's something
are.
trying.
Is it all the way plugged in the jack?
Can you hear that?
Oh, there we go.
yes. There you go.
Okay, all right. I'm just curious about you know, a lot of our members are employed by the state. When does the state get its budget? Do you know?
Megan, do you know when your state budget's gonna be approved?
I just bring that up because I know on the federal side, you know, number one, we have no non-essential travel. And they're cutting everything they can cut, right? So I just wonder if on the state side, when you get your budget and if you know you're gonna be able to get approved to travel and if March 18th is, you know, within that range. Because what I'm afraid of is like if they don't know by March 18th yet and they postpone it and then it's a much higher fee, then they're gonna be like, well, never mind, I can't go.
Well, I think that's the Jeff's plan. I don't think a 25 or $40 increase is gonna be make or break for people attending the conference. I mean, I just don't see that as. If they can travel, they'll go, and if they're, like you said, Rob, if they don't have a travel budget, they're not gonna come whether it's 245 or 275.
Okay, yeah, it's just something to think about. I feel like this year is gonna be tight.
Yeah, agreed.
Is lodging cost significantly more at Grouse Mountain?
The per diem rate is 232, I think. 232.
So I think that's a bit more than other places.
What was Colonial 150? Is Helena's is like 150 for him, right?
That's how it was, 154.
Yeah. something like that. Yeah.
And maybe is it worth trying to open registration up a little earlier just to kind of get a sense for? Or would people, I mean,
I think most people are gonna just wait till
they would wait anyway.
until almost to the end of the early bird.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do normally.
Okay.
I like to, well, it's like,
think a lot of people like to start to see the conference program even and know a little bit what, you know,
Yeah,
some of the
exactly.
tracks might be.
Yeah.
We,
And you kind of need to know, we need to know if we're gonna increase these for the,
Right, our other
Like
option,
budget,
like,
right?
like we said, is to go back and find areas to cut, that is another option. Right now, we need to cut $6,200.
Is this number with the Grouse Mountain strategic
No.
planning? This is with
This
the
is standard, yeah.
Anaconda, okay.
are we gonna, or where would we put this for like MAGIP members, not MAGIP members, board members traveling? Like to Marls,
oh, that, there was a
Or
line
map.
item for that.
is there a line item?
Yeah,
I
there
was
is.
wondering too, Mike, and I saw it earlier under BOD travel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right above insurance.
Where am
Is that,
Yeah,
is that where
right
that's
there.
going?
Yeah, if you go over to the right, it says,
you've got $1,500 allocated for lodging and facility rental for.
Yeah, but that's just. for the
No, I
strategic
saw-
planning.
oh, I saw something that said to representing at other events.
I? I thought so too, but I can't remember where it was.
Where, I saw it.
Truck speaker travel.
Do you know where it is, Nate? I saw it earlier because I was looking.
Oh, I got it here. Professional services, admin, travel and lodging.
No.
No, that's Michelle.
That's for Michelle, yeah.
Good.
I thought,
Yeah, I saw it.
yeah, it might be in, did you see it today?
Yes, it's the lodging, it's this. There, right there, representing MAGIP right there.
Oh, I see it right there. Yep, representing maggot at events.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Wait, yeah.
I mean, because
So
that
we don't
15,
have enough in there.
there's not enough in there. That 1,500 alone was just for the strategic planning.
That's how much we've had for that one. and
Well, there's a
That's
section,
right, and that's right. Because we don't normally have I mean, just recently, because we've done Marls now, we've done MAP. You know, we're trying to get representation from our board members to be at one of those things that we are now thinking about, well, we gotta start paying for them
oh, I thought there was.
a little bit,
different
you know,
line.
maybe a little travel snipe or a little hotel room or
Yeah.
something.
I guess-
Instead of your own work covering yourself. Kind
Yeah.
of thing.
I would, yeah.
I mean, we've been fortunate that most of these conferences have been in places where we've had members or board members, so that it made it easier.
Well, I think that kind of continues the next couple of years, because I think it's in Helena. Is it in Helena? Or is it?
Well,
Bozeman?
MAP is
It's
in
yeah, MAP is in Helena, Marls is in Bozeman.
Okay.
And then the following year, Marls is in Helena. So.
Oh, for some reason, there's not a separate line item for the strategic planning. I thought I saw a separate line item, or is it all just in that
No,
one?
it's
I would like to suggest that we consider the conference, fee increases. And, like on the order of what we just talked about 275 for the early bird and, yeah, does that, I mean, right now, we're not a balanced budget. I think we need to, either increase the fees or cut back some of the, you know, various line items that we just added to, such as the, you know, increase we did for the, map contests or some of the member support or student, you know, some of these other items, so.
I think increasing the registration fees would almost get you there.
Yeah,
Because if you if you went from 245 to 275, that's $30. I don't know if you want to go that much. And if everybody was just paying the early bird, which they won't, you'll have people paying more, the late, that's 55,250 right there.
I just texted Erin Fashaway to ask her what her travel budget was looking like, and she said it looks like she's going to have money for travel this year, but she won't know for a couple of weeks. So, I mean, I think that we could consider that because we're not approving the budget today. We're just, you putting in some numbers and we'll approve it at a later time. They may actually have the budget finalized then. So she'll know more about her travel budget.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we opt to not cut line items we've increased today and ask, I'm happy to help you with this, Jeff and Michelle, that the conference planning committee / Michelle come with proposed updated conference registration fees and send those out prior to the August 5th.
Or we could raise the number up to the 200 instead of 175.
I feel more comfortable raising the rates just given what we just talked about with budgets being tight. So I think less people potentially in the location. I'd like to increase the rate a little bit.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think we need to.
We want to do that? I mean, it's okay to leave this, it doesn't feel great, but it's okay to leave this for today because we're not approving the budget today.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, what's the late fee? If you don't do early bird, how much was registration? Yeah. We went 275, 375.
Yeah, if we did 275 and 325, is that what you're saying, Megan? For the majors.
Or $100
Like
difference.
you can get it for 275 or you can get it for 375.
Yeah, $100 difference instead of $50 difference, because right now it's just the price of a membership. That's the only difference.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
why?
Yep. Okay, well, we can run those calculations and kind of come back with, I hate to kick the can down the road, but I do think we have other stuff to move on to as well, so. Okay, any last budget thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I think there's one item that Nate brought up early on. And that was our that was our investment in a CD. And so I think we should close the loop on that. I also thought, so the current rates on those are 4 to 4.5%. Another option along those lines is a money market fund, also in the same range, also about 4.5%. They're a lot more liquid. So things to think about, but at the very least, we should give an approval or consent to continue or maintain that type of investment.
Were we doing 6-month CDs or what were we doing with that?
6 months.
6 months.
Well, I want to consider too, I mean, yeah, I agree. I think what Nate was saying at the beginning when we were doing the CDs, we should just I think we should make that almost like a policy where we're just doing it every year or every
But
6.
the amount might vary though. That's the only thing.
Well, and then
Consider the
if
amount
that's,
every year.
well, we should come up with a price. And then every other year or every year, we can just consider, hey, should we up the price or should we not up the price? But then we don't have to go through this whole thing of, should we do it or not do it anymore? Let's just do it.
Nate, do we comfortably have enough in the savings if we do 35,000?
Yeah, I think so. Currently in checking and savings, we have roughly 70,000. So that'd be putting half of our savings in a CD.
Maybe that's what we should do. Maybe do every year, just do half.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. I'm just throwing that as a suggestion. I'm not saying we should do that or not.
Yeah, and then Nate, I guess, were we doing like back-to-back 6-month stints for CDs? I mean, that's what I'm assuming. So this discussion we'll talk about again in January. Is that kind of how we've been doing it?
Yeah, so we've had 2 CDs in the past 2 years, and they've both been 6-month CDs. But I think it would be worth considering just maybe automatically renewing those so we don't have to have this discussion every year.
So, something to consider at 4.25%, if we put 50,000 in there for a year, that would essentially endow the membership support. That would yield $2,125. And so
Yeah,
we
but-
could,
Some of that money has to be pulled out to pay for the conference prior to the actual conference, so I don't think we could do it for a full year. it could be 6 months and then I think we do, Nate, could you remind us how we did that investment this year? Because don't we pull money out?
Yeah, the CD started last August, maybe, and it went for 6 months, and so that put us into January or February. But I mean, we do have income coming in throughout the spring and quite a bit of income, so that's the money we use to pay for the conference. So I don't think it really matters if we just have this in a CD throughout the year.
Would there be a penalty to remove it? If we,
Yes, there
Yeah,
usually
yep,
is.
there's,
You
and,
basically lose the interest that you're gonna get.
yep,
Right.
but not a penalty to the amount that you invest?
no.
Okay.
The other option, for a similar return on your investment would be a money market fund, which would be entirely liquid and yield about the same amount. You'd need a brokerage account, but that's free. Something to think about.
Would that make it easier for the treasurer to manage if it was in a money market account versus a CD?
If it,
It probably would be not as, not as safe. So I think it would be more risk to have it in money market versus a CD. Because
there's no risk in a money market fund other than the changing interest rate.
yeah, the interest rate could go down to 2% or.
Right, you're locked in with the CD, but it's a pretty low risk investment. So we have to make a decision on the CD now. Is it up for renewal? Sorry, I didn't follow that.
I don't think we have to make a decision now. And we don't currently have any money in a CD. We took it out in March, so.
Got it. So we're foregoing potential interest. I see. Okay.
How much money do we have in our checking account? 70,000? I think it'd be crazy not to move it. That's my personal feeling,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like the security of a CD since interest rates do fluctuate and, I don't know if you guys are up for it, but I would make a motion to put the $30,000 back into,
We're not hiring those.
Yeah, what's wrong with the 50 that Rob brought up?
50. I'm fine with whatever. I'm sorry, I missed that part. I went to get some water.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I would love to put some of our assets into a CD and make some interest on them for 6 months and we're not gonna need those huge expenditures right now.
agreed. And then if Nick, if you're up for it, we could potentially task you with before August 5th, just coming up with like a short, just do a little bit of research on what it would entail for us to start a money market account.
Yeah.
So we don't need to put it all on today,
Yeah.
maybe 40, whatever we decide on, and then we can consider other investment vehicles in August.
yeah, and there's also an option to do, like, instead of doing the full 6 months or year, you could do like part of it in 6 months, part of it in 3-month increments, so that you have money spread out. So you could take that higher amount and put it into the longer term investment, which will give you a higher yield, and then have smaller time allotments. That's just another way to consider it, but I think that would be something, and we looked at that too in the past. So, but I think that, I guess I would ask Nate, is there anything that is coming up in the next 3 months that we would need to have to be liquid for?
Yeah, so. Yep, we pay full scope every month, almost $2,000. So you have to account for that. And then the poster awards in November, along with the meetups. So that's another roughly $1,000. And then every other year we have the subscription to Wild Apricot. But this year is an off year, so we don't have to pay that this year. And that's just trying to find the amount every other year. So that's every other year we have to pay $2,448 for Wild Apricot in November.
But we still have
$20,000.
if we put 50,000 in, we still have 25,000 available for those kinds of expenses, right?
Yes. I just wanted to make sure that the $25,000 would cover any expenses we would have in the next 6 months, and it sounds like we'd have plenty.
Well, in absolute worst case scenario, you have to break the city, which is not,
Right.
it's not great, but
Yes.
that would be like if there's an emergency.
And Nate, really quick, if you go back up to the, full scope, are you driving?
I'm driving.
Go to there. So, for that one, so this contract was right that Mike gave me. I don't know what I was looking at. The total's 21,994, but if you want to break it into those two line items, it's 17,029 for that one. 17,029 and then 4,965. That'll help down there too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to encourage someone to make a motion to put,
I'll make a motion to put 50,000 in the CD for 6 months.
And I'll second.
okay, we got a first and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion is passed. Okay, there was one other thing?
Don't
No.
forget to get a motion to take Nate off.
Oh, yeah, I have that on
Okay.
other board business. Okay, that wraps up budget, I think. Great,
Well done.
nice work. We are going to come,
Well, didn't talk about travel for people who go to other conferences and stuff.
oh, that was the thing, I knew there was something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're close to the budget. I'm cool with
Just
that.
increase that one line item.
What is our bottom line looking like now?
Well, we're minus 400.
Minus
Thousand.
4,000,
Yeah.
Okay.
but we expect we're gonna be discussing those increases.
Yeah, the conference
Yeah.
planning committee is gonna come with a proposed increase.
So we can talk about that later.
Yeah, okay, yeah, let's table that one too, let's move on, because it's already 1:45.
Okay.
Okay, next up I had social media policy.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Helen.
okay, so we worked on the social media policy some last fall and into, I think, early January, and then I had some travel, and then all of a sudden it was conference time, so we never officially approved the document. There were a few lingering comments in there, and some of them were couple questions from, I have the comments pulled up too.
Oh, she has my copy.
Oh, sorry.
That's my copy.
Here, you can look at mine.
That's fine, yeah.
So there were a few lingering questions, and one of which I think Rob still has a comment in here that was saying, why are organizational members called out different from general members? And I think a big part of the social media policy was to make it really clear that organizational members would have a unique benefit of being able to submit these social media post requests through a survey 123 form and have Alicia make like a pretty graphic. And so that wasn't like a benefit we were extending to just anybody. We wanted to give our organizational members like a +1 and try and maybe encourage a few more organizational members, because, not just job postings, we've outlined other things in here they could share, news releases, like cool projects. So, that was one reason we kind of separated those out. Another comment I'm not seeing in here was something Hillary brought up, and it was on a similar line that she, it's kind of a broad policy, because we want to outline how we behave on social media, like how we represent MAGIP. But, as a part of that, it was trying to outline this additional benefit for our organizational members. So I think maybe there was some confusion on that, because the policy is sort of a general, hey, this is how we operate in a social media space, but it was also kind of outlining a member benefit. Because I think Hillary had a similar question about, well, shouldn't this be open to all members? And from what we talked about at strategic planning meeting last year, I think we come to an agreement that adding that as a benefit for organizational members made a lot of sense. And we can always revisit that if we want to, extend that to others. So that was a comment. Jackson had a comment about political content, which I do think is really relevant to for us all to think about. Here, let me go to this comment.
And I have it up on the screen as well.
Oh, you do? Okay, so in particular, I think we put the word partisan political content to try and give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room for if there's legislative proceedings, that bills and other things that have a significant impact on the profession, such as the fee increase, you know, for the, whatever those.
House Bill 192 was the one that was.
Thank you.
supported.
Thank you. You know, so that kind of thing. I don't know if anybody wants to add any additional language in here that might say something about that, you know, MAGIP board may review legislative matters that impact the GIS community. If anybody has language they want to add that speaks to leaving us a little wiggle room to endorse bills that, you know, are something that really significantly impacts our field. So if anyone has comments or feedback on that, I think those were like two of the main questions that were outstanding. I think we did, I'm gonna check off a few of these because I already took care of a bunch of these. So those are the two main things: clarifying organizational member benefit for the actual requesting social media posts. And maybe if somebody has some ideas for language or anything that we want to add to this last section on limitations, just to clarify that we may endorse legislative proceedings and bills and other things.
I think the language on the limitations with the partisan is fine. I don't think we need to then call out that we can post.
Okay.
Because that's, you know, we were talking about that with the orientation, that's inherent as a 501c6 that we can conduct those activities. So I think that section is good in my opinion.
Yeah. And then I think a lot of these were just some remaining comments that I'm pretty sure Hillary and I talked about. So, that kind of gets through the remaining comments, some of the remaining comments that I was seeing in the document. Did anybody else have any thoughts or suggestions based on the review of this, if you refreshed your mind on this document recently?
Feels like forever ago since we've had.
I
I know, it's been like 6 months. That's okay. I thought we had made it pretty solid.
I did though, I did summarize your history section and popped
Oh,
it in
I
here.
thought I just cut it down and sent it back to you.
I don't think you did, because I did this, I did a
I did it in
Cliff
my
Notes
mind,
version.
right?
It's okay, we did it together telepathically.
Sorry, I cut it.
My opinion is Helen and Gail have put a lot of work into this. Everyone's had a chance to read it, and I think we need a motion to approve it. It can get amended, you know, something could get amended if we caught something, but I think I've read it, I'm comfortable with it. I think it's really strong, so I think we should move
I
forward.
definitely would motion to approve this, for sure.
Okay,
Second.
so first and second, all in favor of approving the social media policy, trying to get the time right, social media policy for MAGIP, say aye.
I,
All opposed, same sign. Okay, good. Thanks for all your work on that.
So quick question on that, do the organizational members know about this? Like,
no,
Well,
we're
and this
gonna,
is where we're gonna start. Yeah, we gotta put it on the website.
we'll make
Gotcha.
an announcement, we'll put it on a website. I
Okay.
already have outlined a survey 123 form and what that looks like to submit a social media request. I have to look at my notes because I haven't built it, but I remember detail outline.
you
of
got
the
a plan, okay. perfect.
Survey 123, some announcements on social media, and probably something on the webpage announcing.
And if you come up with a blurb, I'm happy to send it out to the organization.
Fantastic, yeah, I'll come up with some language for an exciting announcement about our
Okay.
new organizational member benefits.
Thank you.
Well done.
We did it.
Okay, I think that checks off both those things on the board policy section.
Do you want this back now?
So
Well, if you got notes on it, good.
It's just.
we'll keep moving along. Eric, it looks like you made a written report. Do you want to speak to it, or should we kind of just read this aloud and use your chat here? He might have
Hold
stepped
on,
up.
everything
Oh.
got minimized on me here, so now I gotta figure out, there we go. It's the problem with doing a couple. Yeah, no, what's typed there is probably, is a pretty broken down, quick summary of everything. Yeah, the last meeting was July, and I think I gave a report, at our board meeting that month. I added the meeting dates so that members could see when the next upcoming meetings are. And then the one item of note was to point out the various MSDI working groups and the work that they are doing to create these matrices that will go into support the GIS strategic plan and the business plans for the state library, all to improve the value and the availability of geospatial data and services that the state of Montana and others provide.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. And I did attend the last MGIA meeting. I would ask maybe Gail or Mike if you'd be willing to attend in July, because I'll be out of town.
I have it on my calendar.
Okay, awesome.
Oh, you're gonna do it? Okay.
You can do it
Perfect.
if you
Nope.
want, but I have it on my calendar.
All you?
Thanks, Eric. Really appreciate it. We're gonna speed along because we're a little behind schedule. But
Yep. That's why I typed it up, so you guys can keep the schedule.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay, I did leave a little bit of time, well, originally I left time for, new business. We've kind of eaten most of that up, but there is one that I'll bring up that we need to check off, which is to make a motion to remove Nate from the Wells Fargo bank account and add Nick. So that needs to be a formal motion in the minutes so that Nick can take those minutes, as documentation. to get that.
I'll make a motion to remove Nate Wold on the negative account and add Nick Lewis.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I was gonna make some rude comments, but I don't think that's good.
Okay, we got a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion's approved. Are there any other new business topics, other discussion topics before we wrap up?
I just ask that we leave some time, maybe not in the early August meeting, but in the strategic planning meeting for reviewing a little more in-depth of the member satisfaction survey results that we opened up last fall and kept open through the conference, so. Didn't want to forget that because I'm forgetful.
So if we're kicking the can on the strategic plan down the road, when does these facilities need to know, or is MAGIP just planning on having a later one?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Decide to pay.
did we decide if
Well,
we're
yes.
not going to?
Yes, we essentially did, because we didn't approve increased line items for enough to cover, I'm never gonna get the name of this place. sorry.
Grouse.
Okay, so we're not going to Braswell.
Well, we didn't increase the budget enough for that, so,
Okay,
yeah, so Michelle and I would be working on Plan B, which is Fairmont.
during the same dates then?
Yes. Yep. Yep, we'll move on that. Michelle, we were just talking about that. We need to move forward on Plan B for the strategic planning, but keeping the same dates.
Okay.
So yes, we'll try to stick to the same dates. If there's any changes, we'll communicate those ASAP, because we know we need it on people's calendars.
So there's probably no plan of the board seeing the facility then, obviously.
There's no plan right now.
Yeah. all right, yeah.
I'll be going up there to ski in the winter, so I can FaceTime you guys. We'll do a whole.
Do a walkthrough.
I'll do a walkthrough.
I mean, Michelle and I did go see it, so it's not like none of us have been up there.
Well, it's a lot cheaper to send you and someone else again before the conference than it is to send everyone.
And we'll be up there at the end of October for work.
Yeah.
You might not be.
Do you want me to try to get a few rooms at Fairmont then too for the Monday night, or is changing the location easy for everybody to get to? Do you want a room on Monday night?
Well, where is that? Anaconda?
Anaconda.
That's a 5-hour drive. That's less than that, 4. That's not bad.
I mean, it's up to you, because we probably will start the meeting at 9:30 or 10.
Yeah, 10 o'clock, so I'll leave early.
Well, let me know if you did change your mind, but for
Okay.
now, I'll just do the night, okay.
Don't plan on it, just
Okay.
just go with the one night.
Okay.
I mean, I guess here's a thought, but obviously it has no impact for Whitefish. For like future, because we know we typically meet in June anyway. Why not meet at the next year's conference facility for our June meeting? So I mean, we could have done this meeting in Whitefish if we thought sooner about it, but. Something to think about for future years.
As soon as you come up with the next place, you know.
I think it's a good idea.
I
I
think,
think one of the reasons that we wouldn't do that is because we don't know who the incoming board members are and whether or not they would be able to travel.
But we don't know that typically. Anyway.
That's true. Sorry.
yeah. I mean, I think most years it is gonna be, I like Michelle's suggestion to just kind of make it a policy to meet at least once at the facility to see it, do a walkthrough. I think most years that's gonna be feasible with our budget. It's just Grass Mountain's expensive. That's kind of the reality, so.
I mean, we can still do an October meeting there if you wanna do that, but I mean, that's just everybody traveling and for the day, and then that's just a long ass day
Yeah,
or an hour.
and we do have, I mean, I'm like, I do not want to bring the budget back up because we're
No.
wrapping up, but we do have money. Like it is an expense we could incur and be totally fine.
Yeah.
We could also see what the proposed increase to the registration costs mean in terms of our bottom line, and if there's an extra 1,500 to 2,000, we can. If Grass Mountain haven't already booked those rooms, we could potentially still raise it. It's on everyone's calendar, so I think at this point, as long as you have it booked.
Well, you gotta make, that decision needs to be made quickly though.
Yeah.
If that's something that we could ask, Jeff and Michelle and potentially Nick to look at and send us like some potential scenarios with a modified, increase to our.
Yeah, that's what I thought the plan was, yeah.
Yeah, the
before
plan is that
yeah.
Is
they,
that gonna be in the next 2 weeks or 4 weeks or?
well, before
It
the
has to be well before, in advance of the meeting.
July, August meeting, yeah, so somewhere in July, we're supposed to get that.
Yeah, I mean, I think within the next few weeks, I mean,
Okay.
I think we could probably shoot by like middle of July, second week of July, to have those numbers at least penciled to send out to everybody to see what they would at least look like.
I got 5 minutes left.
Yeah, I just feel like the middle of July to be looking at that, if we're gonna, even consider Grass Mountain, might be too late. That's all I'm suggesting. If we do it by the end of June, then we could potentially make a decision and be like, yeah, let's look at it.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we're in this situation because the Grouse Mountain, I mean, because it's coming down to rooms right now.
Yeah.
And because the room amount is so much more than say Heritage Inn or even Copper King or even Fairmont too. That's what's driving up that price right now, so.
What if we stayed at another hotel in that area? We get a discounted rate.
You'd have to stay, you'd probably have to stay in California, that's the thing, right? Every hotel is
That's what,
expensive.
like,
I can
5
do some
to 10
check-
miles.
I can do some checking though and see if we can find.
I mean, everybody's driving there, so they're gonna have. a
And
car.
they still kind of consider like September their like tourist season, let's be honest, it's like.
I can, oh.
Like they almost consider 365
That
their
could be an
tourist
option.
season relative, yeah. So that's the other thing that's weighing against us is, it's just the amount of inflation going into the Flathead Valley right now is beyond, you know, I mean, mine's supposed to, the Bozeman folks, you all know that, but like the Helenas and the Billings is we're not seeing that.
Kalispell's a good idea though, because we could just go over there for one day and rent that room for one day, see the space and stay in Kalispell.
Yeah, I think that's a really good option. And I can look just in case in Whitefish too, but I think if that's what's driving up the cost is a lodging.
That's probably-
let's
it
just
probably-
stay somewhere else and you guys could go still see the space and we could meet there.
It would probably cut that line item in half, I bet.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good idea.
well, just leave it on your calendars. I promise we will have somewhere to meet, so.
Even if it's parking lot somewhere.
Jackson,
You need a place like
We
this,
might be getting it.
I'll leave it as tentative.
we need a conference room like this in the fall at some point or whenever we do.
Yeah,
I guess
January.
January, can probably have it over at the sidecar.
Oh,
the
yeah.
working
Oh,
office.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can
Okay.
reserve that conference room
Cool.
all day.
Okay, thanks everyone. I think we're gonna adjourn.
Thank you.
Do they have coffee?
Nick, did you want to?
There's beer on tap.
Oh,
You want to-
let's get there.